One. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? We're doing a mic check right now. Let us know if you can hear us, if everything sounds good, and you can hear us all right. And we will get started with the show. We have a who's who of the Hellbenders here in the chat tonight. We have War Criminal 7. We've got
Benita Wilcox actually
Benita Wilcox came.
Made it for once. We got the Deuster, Goshawk, Bronwyn, Tombstone.
Stephen Taylor, who has popped his investigation cherry.
Ida Bustamante.
Ida's there. Matt Keenan. What's up, Matt?
Tombstone. Val, Southwest Pennsylvania.
All right.
Matt Keenan's in here. What's up, Matt? Mark Hastings. Take Two Wheels. Jones Said Farm. Have a nice day. Sam Burton. I'm sure I'm missing some people if I've missed you. Judy Wheeler. Teresa Wilkins. Pork and Beans. What did we decide to call Existers Revitalization?
E-Rev.
E-Rev is here. So.
Yep. I'm gonna adjust this real quick. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. All right. We kind of adjusted everything where we did Blondes and Booze the other day. So we had to kind of readjust that. Was that Friday?
That was Friday. So
okay.
It seems like a week ago.
God, it does seem like a week ago. Yeah. So we did Blondes and Booze on Friday. If you guys haven't checked out that interview, we had a good time going on their show. They're very, very, very cool folks. We had a really nice time talking to them. We just did like a little interview with them. We talked about HELLBENT HOLLER, some of our experiences.
I ranted.
Joe ranted, but that's, it's a day that ends with Y. So Joe ranted for a while. And but it was a good show. It's on their page, Blondes and Booze. So check that out. We enjoyed doing that. We'll probably do another one with them down the road. But
Rob S., I saw that you emailed right before we got on, and I have not had a chance to read it. And William Kennedy, we actually opened up your mail right before we got on. That's a lot to go through. I got to sit down and go over that again.
Yes.
Thank you for sending that. And thank you for the donation for equipment.
Yes.
So we really very much appreciate that, my friend.
Yes, I checked the post office box today and got William Kennedy's letters. And so if you guys want to send us anything like pictures, letters, anything like that, you also can do that via HELLBENT HOLLER, P.O. Box 777, Pelzer, South Carolina, 29669. And if you've got a story that you want to share with us that we could possibly put on Hellbender Tales, we're thinking about doing that. You can email us, hellbentholler@gmail.com. We're kind of compiling all of those right now and getting those all set up, and we'll start filming those. And but let us know. We can share your story if you do share a story with us.
We've got a couple of really, really good ones.
Yes, we have some great submissions so far. So they're very, very interesting. So if you want to participate in that, you can always email us. So
we wanted to do this because, you hear a lot of these storytelling shows and they claim they're like true accounts, but you don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at least with what we're going to release, somebody took the time to sit down and type it up and email it to us.
Yeah.
Who's going to sit down and just spin this long story and then type it all up for a couple of schlubs like us? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm assuming that if somebody takes the time to actually email us and write it down, it's a true story.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So other news, we released a video on Sunday.
And Two Wheels said it was the best show last night for sure. The LBL and that are his favorites.
Very cool. So we released that video last night or yesterday afternoon. I hope that you guys have had a chance to view that and check that out. We've discussed our encounter with whatever that was, whether it be a UFO, a portal, a nexus to another universe.
Yeah.
Who knows? But we've discussed that for a couple of weeks now here on the show. So it was really important that we got that video out and finally let you guys see that thermal footage and let you guys see that footage that we got. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what kind of your theories and what you guys thought about the video itself. So
The comments overall have been, we've had one person say, that's just a campfire. I don't know what the big deal is. And then when I tried to like engage with them and like speak to them, they just went like batshit crazy on me. So I just blocked and moved on. But it seemed like everybody else seemed pretty intrigued by it. And the thing to remember too is that we caught that light on that small action cam, but it looks so much better in real life.
oh, it was amazing in real life. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, when you
excuse me,
are you okay?
already. Dry throat. Anyway.
So yeah, when we caught that on the camera, it's obviously you can't get all the details on that full spectrum action cam because that's not exactly the best camera in the world. However, the fact that we got it at all was great, and then the fact that I had my thermal on me and got the thermal image or the thermal video, that was a home run in my opinion.
And people have been blowing those images up. Take Two Wheels had actually gone through and looked at a lot of that footage really carefully. I saw the emails from him. I've still got a bunch to kind of catch up on, but he caught some interesting stuff in some of that footage. Some people who watched it on large screen TVs in 4K, I saw figures around the base, but Jesse couldn't see them just because of the height difference. I had a different vantage point, but I had at least 3 people that I saw said that they saw something moving around it.
Yeah.
From left to right in the base when they watch it on a large screen 4K TV. So biggest thing we've watched it on is like a decent sized computer monitor right now. So we probably need to
watch it on a
TV and see what else we can see for it. So
that's cool. Yeah. It's it was wild. That was a wild instance. And I'm glad that we had our equipment. We were able to capture that because otherwise that would just be another story that, oh, we saw this and this and this. And it's like, well, why didn't you film it? Why didn't you capture that? So
I'm just glad that little action camera picked it up.
Yeah. And now for somebody suggesting, somebody was like, saying it's a campfire. I had my thermal out and you can see the video. I scan around like
you look around 3 times, yeah.
Like 360, like 3 times. Yes. So if it was a campfire, I would have seen it on the thermal at that point. If it was if it was a campfire and then people building a campfire, I would have seen those people. I would have caught something. I just instantly, it was nothing there. And then I look and it was just instantaneously there. So campfires don't just instantaneously come
up.
And
when you look at a fire on a high grade thermal like that, like this candle that's right here, you see the flame itself, but then you see heat kind of coming up off the top. And that's not what we got there at all.
No, because you would have seen the heat rising up. You would have had like a pillar of heat rising up above that.
Somebody was kind of just spitballing and they were like, maybe it was a lantern. And I'm going, whole point of a lantern is to illuminate what's around you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which that didn't do, We went up there and we actually took some flashlights up there to kind of replicate it. And when the flashlights were pointed down or to the side or whatever, you can see the beam. It lights up stuff around it. And then if you point the flashlight directly at the camera so that it doesn't light up anything around it, well, you're still lighting up the trees between the flashlight and you. And then also it makes like a star, like a halo effect around it. This was extremely bright, but subdued. It was almost like self-contained. It was very weird. One person had said, hey, I think you guys caught ball lightning. And I'm going, it might be, but
ball lightning doesn't last for as long as,
well, it sometimes, but what were the people doing around it? And then usually ball lightning has to discharge to disappear. That didn't discharge. We would have heard it.
Also ball lightning is not going to sit in one spot for an extended period of time.
And then slowly lift up and disappear. But then even if it was, so there's ball lightning with just people walking around it. That in itself is weird as hell, So.
Yeah. Shirai Ronin Gaming says that guy was a dumbass. Campfires are not white.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not round. And this one changes. It looks like it elongates at a certain point. And then you can see it when we're trying to get to the old roadbed and we're arguing as we're kind of walking. You're catching it up to the left hand of the screen. And you can see it's going up. It's going up higher. We even say at one point, hey, it's higher than it was a few minutes ago. And then it's just gone. So it just disappears out of there. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and again, that's why we followed up. We went back the next day. That's why we did that. That's why we followed up by going back to the site the next day and going up there and checking it out. There was no evidence that there was like a fire pit or a spot where a contained fire was. Those were all pine needles on the ground. Everything was tramped down, and it had been like that, for a long time. But you can tell that nobody like built a fire and then covered their tracks or
No,
anything
and there
like
was
that.
no, when we went
There
up,
was no disturbances.
we
like
found
that.
those scorched pieces of wood, but that wasn't enough to do a fire. There was no fire ring up there. We found scorched wood. We didn't find any evidence of a campfire. That scorching had been there for a while. It looked like that symbol looked like it had been there for a while.
Yeah.
And some people have been asking us to kind of share that symbol. That's a good idea down the road. You can see it on there, but I mean, we cleared some leaves away from it, so we got a better look to it later on, but we're just not going to put that into public yet, the whole thing.
We're still putting pieces together right now, so I don't think we're going to throw that out there in a concise manner yet. We found that symbol several times in that area, and so there's something there. There's something about that.
Yeah.
Where did we find that symbol elsewhere?
We found it.
We found it on the other side of that mountain that's between where we go now, where we used to go. There's a spot between. Remember that road we went off? We just went there that one time. That's where I found that tree structure up up above the road there. We found that symbol there.
And you also found that symbol on the ridgeline overlooking that little bowl of a valley. When we hiked up through there, we found a little cut.
And of course, and we mentioned this in the video, that's also the symbol that we found behind our tent when we camped there one night, and it had that mud and the handprint just in the middle of it.
We've mentioned this story before, but what happened is we were in a spot a few miles from there, and that's the area where we found that like climbing gear that was thrown way high up in the tree. We had gone out and we were just kind of like out looking around. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have a lot of equipment then either. That's before we really built everything we had, but we set our campsite up in the daytime, obviously, and we were all around that spot. We were all around where our tent was because we were maybe expecting rain later on. We wanted to make sure that the tent was going to be okay. Well, we were all around that tent during the daytime.
I mean, you're all around it when you set it up.
Yeah, and then exactly. I mean, we're on all sides of that tent setting it up. But we walk down and we're going through the woods. We see a little light and we kind of follow it in the woods, and then we lose it. We don't see it anywhere. And then I see a green light kind of start to slowly kind of iris out, you know what I'm saying, on the sides until it disappeared. And I'm like, let's hike up to where that light was. So we hike back up to it, and it's near where that equipment was like thrown up in the tree. So we go back to so we're approaching our tent from behind now. And when we came up on it, we were like, what the hell is that? It wasn't there like a couple of hours ago. So sometime between the time we made our camp and the time we found it, somebody came in or something came in and made that symbol and then pressed their hand in the middle of that mud.
Yeah.
Maybe they drug their fingers, but the fingers were made to look like
unnaturally long.
Yeah, unnaturally long is the best way to describe it. Like too long.
That's that was like really scary for us. I think that was really scary when that happened.
You can hear it in the video. I'm like, is that a handprint? You know, so
yeah. I was talking to my friend Katie about that video last night, about the video that we released last night. I was talking to her about that video today, and she goes, you know, your voice changes. She goes, the only time I've seen, that's what she said. She said, the only time I've seen this happen to you was there was that time I found that hair hanging in that tree. Here we go. She goes, it's your reaction that gets me. It's happened noticeably 3 major times. This video, the first time you found that long hair, and in the LBL when you saw that figure, like your voice changes and it's obvious that you're in some sort of shock. So yeah, my voice does change. I'm like, I guess it just goes, I almost kind of go into like a little, like almost a little kid voice
you
in
regress,
a way.
Man.
Yeah,
it's
weird. But
Dead and Yardhan had said he was waiting for Jesse to bum rush the light. She pretty much did.
I tried to.
We didn't include it in the video because I don't want to go up on like domestic violence charges, but she tries to run and I grabbed her by the back of her chest rig and like literally just drug her back. And so you can tell when we're kind of getting down to the road, we're arguing a bit because she was ticked because I wouldn't, but I mean, she couldn't see the figures that were around it. I'm just going, you see a light. I'm seeing a light with something walking around it. And then now the light is lifting up and I don't know where those figures are. They could be coming towards us. They could be spreading out around us. They could have left with the light. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that was not the time to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I did snap at him at one point. I was like, "Don't tell me what to do." I cut that out, but
Yeah.
I was pretty angry because I was like trying to get to it, but you know, in retrospect, looking back, it probably wasn't a safe idea to go running towards this light in the middle of the woods that actually had when we went back the next day, there was residual radiation. So there's no telling what it was or what it was putting off or the danger level that we were in at that point.
War Criminal 7 asked, how big was the object? It's hard to tell. It's definitely hard to tell if you watch the video because, again, the light is not as large as it was to our naked eye. Again, because you're using a small action cam that has no focus. It has no zoom. The fact that it was able to pick it up at all at that distance is like crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't, big, 10, 12, 14 feet.
I would say it's about 12 feet. That's what I've been going with.
Once we got up there too, and we kind of walked to the spot where we saw it at, and then Jesse was up there, and then I'm down with the same camera. I'm just going, it's way bigger than what we thought it was.
We're also, we're you know us. We like to test theories and experiment with stuff. We went out there at night again and had a flashlight. So we tested a flashlight out there and we filmed that. He stood exactly where we stood, and I went up to the location with a flashlight and kind of recreated the scenario with a flashlight. In that footage, so obviously, so we debunked that it's not a flashlight
because not a flashlight.
You have like a halo and like just spires of light when it's a flashlight. It's not just a solid round light. So you have like a halo and everything like that. So we've debunked that it's not a flashlight for sure. When we go back up there, I think I'm going to go up there and build a fire and we can see what a fire looks like.
I think we need to try a fire, a lantern, and then I was thinking take a road flare up there.
We could do that. Yeah, we could do that.
It's definitely not a road flare would have, but let's just try it to eliminate the
yeah. So next time we go up there, which should be fairly soon. Next time we go up there, I'm going to build a fire in the exact spot and he can go down to where we were standing and we can film what a fire looks like at that distance at night. So, and we'll get the thermal of it so we can see and compare the footage. That way we can just kind of eliminate those things and that we have proof that we've eliminated those possibilities at that point.
Gozhawk had asked, do we have any screen captures of those figures? None that anybody has sent me. We're still fooling around with it. I mean, we've got like our video editing software that we use for this sort of stuff. We're playing around with that. We've seen where you can see like little smaller somethings moving around it. And then Take Two Wheels had gone through and analyzed some of it and sent me a really weird screen capture. I know you were looking at the first parts of the messages. I don't know if you saw the screen cap.
No, I didn't see the screen cap.
It's wild.
I thought you glitched out for a second.
No, I didn't glitch out, but if I say what I think it looks like and what he has said it looks like, people are just going to go, now you're just getting too. So we'll save that for another time.
Okay.
But some people have, and if anybody's out there able to, I don't know, blow it up. I wanted to see if we could kind of stabilize it in the center because we are kind of just using a little handheld cam. So there's a little bounce to it, but.
And, I've had to teach myself how to do all this editing. So I'm not like a video master or anything like that. I'm just learning as I go how to edit video and stuff. So I'm not great at analyzing that video. So if, anybody else can do that.
And yet Sharon Lane says your videos are better than what is on cable TV.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's the thing is you could have the best evidence in the world. And if you present it in a crappy way, nobody's ever going to see it.
Yeah.
And the whole goal of this was to try to bring people along for the ride with us. And even if we just put raw footage up, you still don't get that emotional kind of. We don't really use like background music when we're out like moving around or when anything's going on. We don't use sound effects or anything like that.
We did use background music
on the thermal because there's no audio.
I'm saying like early on.
Yeah, but people wanted to hear.
Yeah, hear the woods around us.
Yeah, so we have Robert agreeing that that was not a campfire. That light was weird, man. That light was weird. And we're going to start taking, we've got a Psionics night vision monocular that it's pretty good about capturing like light on. We don't usually carry it with us because it's got a manual focus to it. And it's got a very small, like little like eyepiece to look through. The action cam, we can just look at the screen and like, use it while we move and everything like that. The Psionics is kind of a pain to use, but it captures light really well.
Yeah.
So we're going to start carrying that with us.
If Psionics would produce a camera that had an autofocus,
yeah.
I just don't know why. I don't know why they don't have an autofocus model.
Yeah.
You know,
you can hook it up to a tablet, but then that's 2 pieces of stuff.
We're already juggling so much. We get so frustrated. I know Steven Taylor said, Steven Taylor just went on his went on an investigation, and he was talking about how, okay, I didn't realize I have to juggle all this equipment while I'm trying to do this. And we're like, yep.
You've got to have
we're like your
flashlight ready, a camera, any sort of instrumentation that you're using.
We're like, welcome to hell, buddy.
And you got to be able to move at a moment's notice, either towards something or away from something.
Yes. Shirai Ronin Gaming says, too many unknowns just to rush the light. I'm with Joe on that for sure. If you guys had backup, maybe.
Well, we went up there the following week and we were kind of scouting the area around. We lost the light earlier than what we thought we were going to. So we were in the adjacent area and we started hearing like coyotes, coy dogs, something else kind of circling us at that point. We've got video of that. You should be able to tell that but we were hearing these coming from like 2 separate sides, kind of moving in closer to us. So we had to move out and get to some high ground and looked around the thermal, never saw anything.
Yes.
But we went back up there, but it's that's the thing, is that you have to, I want to get footage, but I'd also like to get out of this woods alive if we could help it.
Yeah, you guys don't get videos if I'm dead.
Yeah.
So, Arnaldo says, have y'all considered the radiation risks that these anomalies could pose? These things are beyond us, and I'd hate to see y'all get hurt. Darn fragile human bodies. Yep, we think about that.
Especially after this, because our faces were irritated.
My face was, the whole drive home, my face was just red. Like red. And it was super late at night. We stopped at a Waffle House because we do that sometimes. If we get out like super late from the woods, we'll stop at a Waffle House on the way home, so I don't have to like cook anything when I get home. And we're sitting in the Waffle House, and Joe just goes, your face is red. And like, it was just so red and just hot to the touch. And it was just felt like it was burning. So that is something that I am concerned about, especially after we went back the next day. And it seems like there was residual radiation based on the readings we got from the Geiger counter.
Yep. So Gozhawk had a thing. Gozhawk had mentioned that the middle of the heat source flickered like a fire, but it was not a fire. What you were seeing in the middle of that heat source was not flickering. It was an inconsistent increase in heat towards the middle, where it was turning white, which means that whatever that was extremely, so almost like a flickering, but you don't have the haze coming off it like you would a fire.
Yeah.
It was like, you're right. I keep saying plasma. And Gozhawk's really knowledgeable about a lot of weird stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's something that I kind of kept coming back to, is like, am I seeing like self-contained plasma right now? That's wild. But it was, the center of it was just insanely hot and kind of varying in heat at that point. So I don't know, man. We were afraid that because the camera could barely pick it up, that people would just be like, oh, that's nothing. But then luckily we had people that like really kind of like looked at it extremely closely on large screens and saw the same stuff that we did, or at least that I did. So,
yeah.
Sam Burton said that he saw that symbol near Corpsewood Manor.
Really?
Well, here's the deal. We know that Corpsewood Manor is like a mecca for people practicing like dark arts. Like,
if Sam, I know Sam went to Corpsewood Manor. Sam, I think you live near there, don't you? If you live near there, we'll probably, when we're ready to go back there, if you want to join us, let us know, and you can actually be our third, for that, because we are desperate to go back.
Yeah.
And we have got to go back there, because we've got to check it out.
Red Wolf's got a good thing that we didn't really address. When you're looking at the thermal, what were the green crosses that kept popping up? The green crosses, you don't really see it in the previous, like when she was scanning, because there was really no heat sources out. Everything's just like a uniform temperature.
Yeah.
Those come out when there's an identifiable heat source. The sensor will show you the hottest thing basically on there. The cross was having a hard time locking onto it for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's obviously showing up as a heat source, but it was just kind of flickering all around it. It was acting kind of weird because when I looked at it, I'm going, great, the thermal's getting ready to glitch out now.
The thermal had a bit of a weird issue after, but yeah.
We've been having issues with that thermal since then, and that's a brand new thermal. Just weird stuff, like memory filling up for no reason. It's probably gonna have to go on like a warranty claim. Maybe it's just a unit that's going bad, but the timing is just weird because it worked perfectly up until that night. So all right.
Rare Roberts says, do you guys look for tripwires or traps when dealing with people, not cryptids? I would be concerned.
That's something that concerns us because we check it out as best we can, but a lot of times on this, we'll like see a light or we'll hear something and we're just busting through the brush.
Yeah.
And so we try to watch out for it, but that's something that I always worry about is
we've just got some serious inherent risks to the job, you know?
Yeah.
But it's what it is. It is what it is. There's not a lot we can do. We just try to prepare as much as possible and be as situationally aware as possible.
One of the things too is that when we were getting out, we kept seeing things up on the ridge to our left.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was the second day when we went for the follow-up.
And several other people have made comments that they saw something up there. So Take Two Wheels is asking, did anybody do a screenshot on that creature flying at the end of the video when I turned around? As far as I know, nobody has done a screenshot on that.
Yes.
So I think the people that are watching it on larger screens seem to be having the best luck as far as seeing it. We saw something up there, but again, we're going down an old road bed. So we're trying to juggle the camera, not trip and fall, and keep an eye around us. So we saw something, but we didn't really get a good look at it. And I think that when that camera was going that way, I was looking in a different direction. So if anybody's able to get a screenshot of it, I'd love to see it. So
Matt Keenan had a good suggestion. Going back to that symbol, I've been thinking a lot about that symbol. Maybe it isn't for summoning an entity, but a marker for where it is known to appear.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
That's a very good point.
It's just so crazy. In so many different places, we're seeing the same symbol.
And we're getting weird stuff.
I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. Mike Mezek follows up with, do you think those symbols you find are doorways for energy or beings to enter? It's starting to almost, I don't know.
Well, let's look at this. Two weirdos like us walking through the woods at night. We come across a ball of, let's call it energy, because it didn't behave like normal light. Okay. It wasn't like a torch or let's say a ball of energy with people moving around it. It's one of a couple things. It's either, I'm going to use really weird language with all this. They summoned it. Do you know what I'm saying? They came through it.
Yeah.
They got out of it. Or it's there independently and they are there doing what? Like worshiping it or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, but nothing. I can't think of any non-weird reason for it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. A couple people have mentioned that opening that I put together. Sharon Lane says, yes, the misty wood shots were awesome, really set the mood. What's cool about that is that's how foggy it was when we were driving in that day. That's how foggy it was. So we got a lot of footage of that, of how foggy the woods were. Like that was the foggiest I've ever seen it up there.
It's been super foggy for like 2 or 3 weeks just because the weather's been weird. We were at a spot 20 miles away from there one night, an area that we used to get a lot of activity at. And it was the thickest fog we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
But what's weird is that area used to be really active, but it's dead now. There's just nothing going on. So we're going through fog that you can't see 10 feet in front of you. And we got footage of it, dude. The flashlight beams are barely going through it. We actually switched to red flashlights, not because we were trying to preserve our night vision or try to stay hidden from something, but the red was not bouncing back as badly as the white, because you would hit a white light and you're blinded. But the fog was so insanely thick, and it was weird because we're in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, and this fog we can't see around. Totally relaxed though, because there's that area just feels like a null now. It feels like it's dead. There's no energy there anymore. So.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Mike Vincent said, my daughter Molly and I love your videos.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's
Molly.
awesome.
So
Dead and Yard Hunt says, where are y'all? Where are y'all? where are y'all? Were y'all missing any time that night?
It's funny because when we got back to the car and you see her going, we saw it, like so excited. When we killed the camera, we went for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I went, what time is it?
Yeah.
We literally went, what time is it? Are we missing any time? Oh my God. And then we looked at it. We're like, all right, no, it didn't seem like we were missing.
We're just trying to make sure we don't get like Betty and Barney Hill.
Or, yeah, something. So, but yeah, we did check that and everything. The time that it elapsed seemed like it was legit. So,
yeah. That was one of the first things we did. We were like doing an after action report there and trying to make sure that we were still okay. Glenn Snyder says, when you say people, do you mean people or beings?
Upright, bipedal,
humanoid,
somethings that walked around.
We don't know though.
The picture that Take Two Wheels isolated. All right, I'm just gonna say it. At first, I'm looking at it going, am I looking at two things peeking around a tree at us? It looks like something with a large bulbous head leaning around a tree with its arm raised up. That could just be a trick of the light, however, I don't know. But it was upright something. She couldn't see him, and I could barely see him because, again, this thing's not really, it's bright, but it's not really emitting light, and it's pitch black out there. But you could kind of see it. All right, so imagine it's the ball of lights right here. We're here, and they're walking around it. So when they would kind of get to this point here, they're not between me and it, but they're kind of right here. You could kind of see the barest bit of reflection on the part of their bodies kind of facing that orb before they got. So it was very, very difficult to see, but you could see them because I'm even going, I think there's people there. What am I looking at? I think there's people. And then I'm going, what is going on with it? And then when you look at the video on like a larger screen, people are telling me you can see like tiny little figures, little somethings kind of going around with it counterclockwise, left to right. That's how they were going. There were at least two of them because I would see two at a time, and there might have been more. I don't know, but I could only ever see two at a time, and they were going in that direction. So maybe one was coming around, and there were only two, but there's more than one, definitely.
Yeah. So it's just so bizarre. It is so bizarre. Sorry, you go ahead.
Go right ahead. So
no, I was going to say, Shirai Ronin Gaming says you need to get the coordinates for the symbols and check them for ley line overlap. Yeah. We're going to start plotting them because we're getting to the point where we're seeing those symbols so many times that we're going to have to just plot them on the map and see if anything pops up.
Again, a few years ago, I would have just gone ley lines. Yeah, whatever. Now I'm going, we probably need to check ley lines, man. So, I mean, let's leave no stone unturned with it at this point. So, Used Television says, if anyone's interested, I uploaded a couple of the videos I made of the orbs in the woods behind my house. I definitely do not think they are here for anything positive or beneficial. That's the same feeling that we got on this. If you look at the video, somebody commented on this, is that Jesse's all gung-ho ready to go up towards it. She's all super excited. I've got a better vantage point of it, and I'm worried because I'm going, what are these things, people, whatever, around the base of it? Even then, I didn't get a good feeling off that thing. You know what I'm saying? I did not want to go up towards it. I think that if we're lucky enough to see it again, the next time, if we see it, I'm probably going to be of the similar mind, but I got a feeling curiosity is going to get the best of us. So,
yep. And what does that do to the cat?
Yep. So, Tony Campagna said it was too steady. It could have been hanging, hoisted off the ground. Well, it was at ground level to begin with, and then it raised up a little bit, and then it started It started going up through the treetops, because when you see it over to the left as we're going out, it's up in the treetops. I mean, we haven't really changed elevation at that point. We're just getting ready to start going down, and it's up high, and we're going. It wasn't that high a minute ago, so I don't know. I just don't know. And if it was somebody else had mentioned, was it a Chinese like lantern? And I'm going, well, it disappeared. It changed shape. I mean, that's not a Chinese lantern. I mean, I guess we're not saying what it is, but I can tell you what it's not.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
wouldn't somebody have to be there to launch that too? Wouldn't we
Yeah.
see the person launching that?
Mhm.
Rob S says, next day I could hear no forest sounds while you investigated, just one plane.
Dead End Yardon asked, could it have been something with light across the valley on that other hill?
We
No.
didn't even address this forest sounds here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you were just reading.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
No, go answer.
I was just saying, I didn't really, did we even notice that?
It was quiet, but it's quiet up there a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
it is.
that's something that is more often than not, you don't hear anything at all. We don't see a lot of wildlife up there. It's just, we saw 2 deer in the beginning of that, and we
Yeah.
even go, I've never seen deer up here. What the heck? But to Dead End Yard Hunt, something with light on the valley across the other. No, because the trees are too thick through there. And at one point you see us kind of turn our IR light up really high, and it gives you kind of a sense of the distance to it. It almost lights up the woods to it at that point.
Yeah.
That's how we were able to kind of figure out where it was. We ruled that out. We ruled out, is it the moon? And I'm going, unless the moon descended into this valley, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's why it was really important for us to go back that next day. Go ahead.
I got nothing. Go ahead.
Any static electricity in the air when you came upon it?
Not noticeable, but then
Yeah.
again, we were so,
our adrenaline's going because all we're doing is we're so excited about what we're seeing. We're so just dumbfounded, and like my friend said, it sounds like I'm just in shock. But I don't recall any like noticeable static feeling in the air.
we had been standing there for a few minutes, and I'm scanning around with the camera and even my flashlight, just kind of just randomly lighting up stuff. She had been just standing there with the thermal. She'd gone around 3 times, and it's not like she spun like a top. I mean, she's slowly going around, and we didn't see it. We didn't see it with any of that. We didn't see it with our naked eye. And then all of a sudden we take a few steps and there it is.
Yeah.
So the fact that we had been there for a few minutes and we'd gotten comfortable and we hadn't seen anything. And then it's not like this, I don't know, just it wasn't there 1 minute, and then the next minute it was just there. I mean, with it giving off heat, she should have seen it on the thermal. We should have seen it with our naked eye, but it just showed up out of nowhere all of a sudden. So
Zoso says, hey, Jess, awesome planchette mug you're sipping from. Where can we get one? I appreciate your networking on the other shows. Brings credibility and teamwork to this strange hobby. Now about that mug. I was trying to look up the girl that makes these. I got this at the Greenville Punk Rock Flea Market last time I went. So I'll have to look that up and find out who this girl is, because she does make pottery and sell these, but she does all kinds of cool little mugs like this. So I'll find that out and I'll let you guys know, because I love my mug.
Alex W asked a question. Were the figures circling in unison as if a ritual or something, or was it more just like people walking around it randomly? The impression that I got, and again, I could see it once I noticed it, but even then, if you hear me in that video, I'm like, I think there's people there, because it was hard to tell at first, because the thing wasn't really lighting anything up. You could only barely catch the slightest bit of reflection on them. When they got it just the right angle, then you would see them move. They're moving in a counterclockwise position, which later on it dawned on me, that's involved with a lot of like magic type stuff, with going counterclockwise around something. To me, it didn't seem like they were moving like just randomly. It seemed like they were circling it. I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is just where my mind has gone to with it, and I might have just thought about it too much, and I might be pulling stuff out of thin air, but to me, it felt as if people were summoning something. Do you know what I'm saying? And my mind doesn't usually go in that direction, but that was what I kind of walked away with, is that there were people, or there was something summoning something else, or this was being done ritualistically. Or that thing about, it's popped in my mind a couple times. It's like they're worshiping this thing. Because we think that's why those occultists are going up there, because there's something there. That they seem to be like paying homage to, that they're like kind of just, they're there for a reason. And it's not just the seclusion, because there's plenty of secluded areas up through here.
Yeah. And that area has a long history of really strange creatures. There's a Cherokee legend about fire breathing devils that live underground there.
Yeah.
So that area has a very, very long and cataloged history of very strange occurrences and strange instances. And it's been wild since the beginning. You know, it was never
Mhm.
developed or anything like that. It's set aside land. So there's no telling what's going on out there or what's living out there
Mhm.
or what's coming through
Mhm.
there.
Goshawk had said could have been a type of drone if it was completely silent. It didn't give off heat like a drone because we've looked at drones through thermals before. If somebody is running, because again, you guys heard how quiet it was out there. You'd hear I mean, I'm not saying that there's not some sort of stealth drone technology out there. I'm sure that there is, that's just completely silent and you can't see the heat around the motors. And these are good thermals. I mean, you saw how it picks up the trees. I mean, nothing was giving off heat,
Yeah.
and we were still able to just the slightest heat variation, see the trees and see really good detail and all that. So
The detail's excellent on that thermal. I
yeah.
love that. I love that thing. Mr. Smith says if the area is used for manifestation / summoning, there may be markers indicating a doorway area near any main roads there. So we're going to be much more aware and much more diligent than we have been in terms of checking out the surrounding area and see if anything kind of pops out as strange or that has maybe hidden meaning. So I think that we're going to continue to we go to this area all the time. So we're going to just continue on with what we're doing, and whatever we find, we find.
Yeah. Sharon Lane asked, was there something moving through the tops of the trees also? Jessie saw something like that. She said she thought it was the size of a small dog, but you know what? There's wildlife out there. There's raccoons. There's all sorts of stuff that's out in the trees. So at the time we thought it was like something to kind of like look into a little bit further, but we never saw it again. And even then you just got a glance out of it. But when we're leaving, people are saying they're seeing something going through the tree branches to the left of us as we're leaving out at the end of the video during the daytime. So if anybody's ever to get like a screen cap of it or something like that, I looked on my phone after they mentioned it and I couldn't see it. So, but I've had several people mention that they see it up there.
Cryptic Castleberry says, do you think you hit the moving figures with the thermal? Would it be weird if they weren't giving off any heat? I think that they were obscured by this thing. You wouldn't be able to make them out because they were obscured by the heat of this thing, right?
The thing that Take Two Wheels captured in looks like a figure, but it looks like it's giving off the same amount of heat as the tree next to it.
What?
Yeah. So
okay, that's weird too.
Because I looked at it and I'm like, what am I looking at here? And I mean, I came in on the tail end of the email conversation you guys were having, and when he sent that in, and it's weird. It's very weird. So
Red Wolf suggests that we might want to carry the blessed ammo.
Yeah, you know what? We have that blessed ammo that Martin Groves gave us that we kind of keep back.
We were going to save that for a special occasion.
Like breaking case of glass, break glass in case of emergency, but we might start just going ahead and loading out on that. Glenn Snyder asked, did you check out that one leaf I mentioned? Yeah, I looked at that actually. It's in my my cart. We may end up getting one of those down
Matt
the road
Keenan says, Jesse and Joe, have you considered that the in-house activity could be from the cultist hexing you to scare you off? Maybe you triggered their curse from tripping their magical barrier.
Damn, Matt, that's a lot. No, I hadn't thought of that. Had you thought of that? So
no.
I just figured we hit something hitchhiked back with us. And even then it's been really quiet around here. We didn't have anything weird happen after this,
Well, just now that you've mentioned this, I didn't think about this possibility. I was thinking that we were having sort of a hitchhiker effect, maybe, but I didn't think about this could be like a direct attack on us. I didn't think about that. However, I can go to the Botanica and get what I need, and we can do like an uncrossing, just to be sure.
Benita Wilcox had said, from my view, it was rotating, had an orb look. It did. It had it. We've caught them on camera in North Carolina. We caught weird lights, just little flashes of lights at the LBL and everything. This wasn't like the typical like spook light type stuff. This isn't even like what you see at Brown Mountain. This looked like a freaking ball of liquid light, I guess, or something like that. That was just
that's why you keep describing it as like plasma.
Yeah, it was bizarre, man. It was so bizarre. So
Jay Myers says, strange thing. Y'all see the bright light and later on heard Russia shot down a UFO.
What? Did that happen recently, Jay Myers? Let me know. I've not heard. Again, that's the thing, is that we usually keep a pretty close eye on like news of the weird type stuff, but we have been focused on this almost to the exclusion of almost everything else, man. So
Shirai Ronin Gaming says, I just can't get over the fact that it wasn't lighting up anything around it. I don't know of any type of light that would not produce light beyond just glowing itself.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, that's strange. When we went and did the experiment with the flashlight to kind of check it out and try to see if like we could debunk that it wasn't a flashlight, you know, Joe's down there, he's filming, and I've got the flashlight and I'm shining it directly at him. And then I try different angles and different, I hold it in different ways and different angles and everything. It's illuminating everything around me. It's just illuminating everything surrounding me. But this object, whatever it was, didn't do that at all.
Yeah.
It was just so self-contained. It was utterly bizarre.
I mean, everybody here's used a lantern, whether you've used like a battery powered lantern or like an old propane Coleman or something like that. You light a lantern to light up the area around you to see what the hell you're doing.
Yes.
So could it have been, I mean, I don't know what it was. I mean, how are they? So they were just up there watching us if it was just people messing around and we didn't catch them on thermal. So it's people up there that are somehow defeating their own body heat and they're just watching us. And then they just started up as we're getting ready to leave, thinking that we're going to notice it. Because we could have left out without noticing them if we had looked in the wrong direction. I mean, we were on the way out at that point. That's what's so weird. That's what doesn't make sense about it is that, and if they were up there, there's no other vehicles up there. You saw in the video, there's one way up and there's one way out. So these people were just waiting on this hilltop, not knowing we were going to come there. Just hunkered down in heat reflective blankets, you know what I'm saying, for hours. And then they wait till we're getting ready to leave and maybe not see it to do this. None of this makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
And like we've said on multiple occasions, we had never even been to that area before.
And let's say they didn't want us to see them. They could have waited 5 minutes. We never would have seen them. We would have been gone.
Yeah, because we were trying to get out of there.
And if they wanted us to see them, then why didn't they start it immediately when we were up there?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what I just don't understand is that it's almost like it was happening independently of us with no care one way or another whether we witnessed it or not.
I mean, we hit it with flashlights several times.
And you couldn't see anything.
You had your flashlight. I had my flashlight. You had your headlamp on. I mean, so if whatever this was, if it cared that we were there,
it's almost like it was happening like, it's almost like it was happening like in an alternate reality, just bleeding over a little bit.
Yeah.
And they just were completely unaware of us.
Oof.
Because it's what a weird random time to start up, man. It just, none of it makes sense. So
what if we're the ghosts of their dimension?
Well, there you go. What if there's people in another dimension right now sitting on like their version of computers? They've got like tentacles and stuff like that. And they're just going, we were in the woods, you know, just playing with our plasma ball. And we saw these two weird creatures with, you know, nobody believes us. We couldn't catch it. So I like how Jay Myers is picking up the What the Flock slack tonight because What the Flock's not on.
Kaiju Ninja 1985 says, are you aware of any killings or missing people in that area?
Yes.
There's lots of missing people in that area.
Tons of missing people, and there's tons of bodies that were found.
Yes.
When I say tons, it's not like they found a pile of them. There's a case that's really weird that's fairly close to that with the anachronistic clothing. Can we mention that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
There's a case that Jesse found where they found a guy. Now, this isn't in the exact area, but this is on the one paved road kind of leading into this area. But a few years ago, they found somebody dead just on the side of the road there. This is the middle of the mountains. Yeah. You don't get a lot of hitchhikers.
Yeah.
Nobody's
really on foot out there because it's so remote.
But they found this guy dead and they had no ID on them. And in the news article, it said that his clothing seemed
out of time,
out of place with time. He was wearing very old fashioned clothing that was in very good shape, but it just seemed very old fashioned.
Yeah.
That's
crazy to me. It was very that his clothing was out of time. They never identified this guy. They have no idea who he was. They ran his dental records, they ran his fingerprints, but they got nothing. It's still a mystery. He's still an unsolved, but he was just dead on the side of the road and his clothing was like out of time. That's such a strange case. And that's from right there in that area where we saw this. And then there's several missing people. There's
missing people stretching back into when the area was first settled by Europeans. And then there's folklore that the Native Americans wouldn't go up there because they thought that the fire-breathing like demons lived in the caves.
We're going to take them.
And they thought that the little people were up there as well, but
Yeah.
that they didn't go up into that area. They would hear the booms from a distance, and they thought that that's where like the spirits lived, and that the spirits would be up there playing handball or like some sort of like Native American ball game. And then when the settlers got there, they called it ghostly cannon fire. So Take Two Wheels had mentioned a 360 cam. We've tried back facing cams before because everybody's always telling us that, you know, oh, Scott Carpenter uses them. He's got a ton of luck. We've never had any luck with them. And, but a 360 cam would probably be pretty decent to get. We might look at that down the road as the budgeting allows. So
Sharon Lane suggests Cherokee elders believe in elementals. That could be what you saw. I've said this before, even before this light incident. I think we're dealing with something old and elemental.
Something ancient up there. That's something that's just old and bad.
Yeah, but I think we're dealing with that, and then I think we're dealing with a bunch with other things too, because some of this phenomenon has various characteristics, but some of it's different. I don't think it's all one thing that we're dealing with, but we might be dealing with multiple things coming through like a veil area.
I don't know. Take Two Wheels said different screenshots of different angles, same big head. We're talking about that thing that looks like a big bulbous head. Something leaning around the tree looking at us that doesn't look like it's giving off, at least it doesn't look like it's giving off any heat in the image. I don't know if Take Two Wheels put a filter on it, but it's the same color as the tree that it's next to.
Yeah.
So whatever was giving off heat was not this creature, which is weird. Cloaked, like, is it able to like conceal its body heat somehow? I don't know, man. So
Goshawk says, I love the teamwork here. Brainstorming is awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why we do these, because you guys really throw ideas at us that, you know, Joe and I talk about this constantly. I know that you guys think we talk a lot on these things. He and I are constantly jabbering at each other and working through ideas and discussing this, but we have our own biases and our own blind spots when it comes to this. So that's why we really enjoy doing these shows, because you guys throw stuff at us that we would have never considered.
Yeah.
And it helps us kind of spark another direction or another idea of what is going on, and then things that we can do to kind of experiment with it and test it out, and different methods of doing this too. So we really love that about these lives.
Take Two Wheels had mentioned sending a drone to check it out would be awesome. Our drone is still in a tree on a mountaintop in North Georgia. So we'll get another drone down the road, but like I said, we got that infrasound testing equipment that kind of wiped us out. And then we've got a few odds and ends with stuff that people have donated to the channel to kind of fill it in. We'll probably get a drone this year. I just don't know when it's going to be. We still got to eat like everybody, you know what I'm saying, like everybody else. So, but we will, whatever drone I get, it's got to have collision avoidance, because we go into heavily wooded areas. So, and I apparently suck as a drone pilot. So I need something that's not going to crash.
I do have the video of the drone crash where he crashes it into the tree. He refuses to watch the footage, but I almost want
anxiety, man.
I almost want to put that together and release it, because it's so sad when we lose the drone.
Susan Compton says, my husband was in a field across the road and saw a similar light or orb above the tree line. A few days later, he saw it in our yard. He got video of it, but it's stuck in an old phone, trying to recover it. Yeah, if you get that, Susan, I would love to see it if you feel like sharing those images with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with us, I mean, it stayed stationary. It looked like it was rotating, and then it lifted up a little bit, and then it was up. I guess it was drifting up or moving up slowly or whatever when we left out, but I don't know, man.
Mr. Smith says, has experiencing such activity as of late affected your dreams? I had a dream the other day that it was almost like a weird premonition type dream. But it wasn't negative. It was positive. And I always have weird dreams though. And I can lucid dream too. So that's always fun. But have you had anything happen to you?
I can't trust my dreams because I go to sleep reading. Like right now, I've been reading Mac Tony's Crypto Terrestrials every night before I go to sleep a little bit. And then I go to sleep listening to podcasts. So if I have dreams about aliens or ghosts, it's probably because there's a phone next to my head playing people talking about aliens or ghosts.
I had to stop reading that Jacques Vallée book because I was starting to have nightmares about alien abduction. So WR Bruce says everything up on that hill points to Sasquatch.
See, I don't know that.
I just don't.
I don't
think
see
so.
it. I don't see it pointing to Sasquatch at all. And that you're not the first person, WR Bruce, had said that, but that ground was spongy. You could see us talk about it. The prints were, as we would walk, we'd leave impressions in the ground, but then you'd literally watch them come back up in front of your eyes. It was so spongy back through there. But in that area, the whole time we've been there, the only thing that we have found that could be considered like stereotypical, like Sasquatch behavior, is we found some tree twists near there, and we have found some, like, there's X's everywhere up there, to the point where I've always been very dismissive of that, because sometimes branches and trees fall across each other and they make an X in the woods, and that's just normal. But up there, it's like so prevalent, and it's you can't deny that it's up there. You just have to eventually look at it and go, all right, this is abnormal, how much it's happening up here. And then something picked up that recorder that had had thumbs. You know what I'm saying? Something picked that up. Nothing picked it up with its mouth. It didn't pick it up with its teeth. It was picked up by a hand and lifted up fairly. But the email we got from that guy said that he didn't think Sasquatches were real, but even if they're real, that they weren't up there. This guy obviously has regardless of his origins, he seems like he knows some of what's going on up there. So, I mean, you might be right. I don't know. But the things that I saw walking around it, they didn't seem huge. You know what I'm saying? They seemed.
Yeah. Somebody asked that later down here. They were like, well, if you estimate the bowl or whatever this was to be about 12 feet, what size do you estimate the
I don't know.
figures to be? I think Rob S asked this just now. So
6 feet or under. I mean, I don't know. It was hard to tell because you could barely see them. I mean, it took me a few minutes or like, I don't know, we weren't there for like a half hour or anything, but it took a little bit to kind of figure out what I was seeing there. They just seemed small. They seemed slight. They didn't seem like they had a lot of mass.
We were just so in shock too. Yeah. We were just like, what is this? Jitesh Patel says, Hellbent Holler, best hands down research, a channel that colors outside the lines, head and shoulders above, standing ovation. Oh, that's pretty Thank you, Jitesh. Thank you, that is high praise, sir. We were talking about that alternate reality beings. Red Wolf goes, alternate reality.
You had to believe me, it had blue hair. Oh, good Lord.
It made cicada sounds. Take Two Wheels said that there's a lot of military chopper activity heading towards LBL tonight. You can probably look at the flight paths now.
Keep your ears peeled for some stuff about the LBL in upcoming weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'll just leave it at that. Arnaldo had mentioned a few minutes before that his aunt had seen one, and that when they went out, saw an orb in their yard. When they went out, they found like ash there. And then I guess his aunt says that when she touched the ashes, it led her to be able to turn on light bulbs with her bare touch.
Okay.
Wow. That's wild. I completely believe you, though. You know what I'm saying? At this point, anything's on the table. So Matt
Keenan has, for some reason, become the most insightful person we've dealt with.
Matt Keenan. All right. Firing on all cylinders, buddy.
Matt Keenan says, for all we know, those walking bodies going around the light could be the lost souls taken by the screaming lights.
Damn, Matt. All right. I have to get him a stipend to become a consultant here, for God's sakes. I mean, possibly so. If you remember back to that one email, it didn't make sense to us. The screaming lights, and there's people in the lights. It takes people up in there. And we're thinking, the way we took it when we first read it is that we were going to literally be there, and a screaming light's going to come over the treetops, envelop us, and then just fly away with us. And then we're the ones screaming in it. You know what I'm saying? I took it to be almost like he was trying to insinuate there was an abduction type scenario. And that's what had me worried. Maybe you're right. Maybe whatever these figures are in the light belong to the light or belong in the light. Maybe it's not an abduction thing at all. Or maybe it's I don't know, man. If the language wasn't so weird and just kind of, it's like he gives you details. The details don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're starting to make sense.
Yeah, I guess so. So
you can go ahead with yours.
No, I got on everything right now.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Rampage asked, is this area local to you? It's a ways away. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Anytime you do this sort of stuff, if you want to be out regularly, you need to have a research area that's within easy driving distance of you. If you have a research area that's 6-8 hours away, you're hardly ever going to get there. And we just stumbled across the spot. Like I said, we had an area that we had gone to research because there were Sasquatch sightings reported, and we were finding weird activity there, and then it just went dead that day. And it never came back. So we started just scouting around the area, just, kind of driving around like ever widening circles, just checking it out, hiking around. And then we just stumbled across these old roads that you see in there. And we go, this is interesting. There's a whole network of like roads that aren't really on a map or anything up here. Old forestry roads, old Forest Service roads. And we just started exploring through there. And then we stumbled into some weirdness. And then we talked to those witnesses that we came across who had some weird experiences up there. And it's just been where we've been focused on. I mean, so it's not super convenient. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive to get up there, but it's worth the drive so far.
Sharon Lane said, is there a lot of quartz or limestone or granite up there? In these areas where we're having high activity, we're finding chunks of quartz that are just huge chunks of quartz. But they're just laying there on top of the pine needles or the leaves or what have you. But we're finding these pieces of quartz in the areas where we seem to be having strange activity and anomalous activity happening. Where we saw this light anomaly, there were just chunks of quartz around there. So it's something. It's definitely something. And one of the main mountains over there is just a solid piece of granite. So
Rob said counterclockwise is interesting. When I was at Medicine Wheel, Wyoming, I was told to never walk counterclockwise around Stone Medicine Wheel. Counterclockwise is traditionally in like European folklore considered unlucky. It's associated with like black magic. Witches were known to like move counterclockwise around a fire. It's called Widdershins. And it was considered unlucky to walk counterclockwise around something. You're basically going against nature. You're going the direction that, the sun goes from, east to west, and this was considered for some reason counter to nature. So, and that didn't really dawn on me until we were like in the car almost home. I'm like, wait, those things were going like counterclockwise there. That might be relevant, or it might just be happenstance. So
TCR 44 says, I hope you power down sometimes and just do something fun and stupid.
We try. I mean, it's sometimes we'll look at each other. Like we had mentioned a couple weeks ago, people will be like, hey, have you watched like Yellowstone? And I'm going, man, I don't watch anything that doesn't pertain to this strange pursuit that we have found ourselves involved with. So usually if we watch anything, we're watching like, I don't know, like Graham Hancock sit around and talk about, like just weird little things like that, or trying to watch anything that will kind of help us maybe understand what we're dealing with a little bit better. When we're reading, we don't read for pleasure or fun anymore. I'm reading stuff on like bioelectric charges and just, stuff by like, Jacques Vallée. We're reading the Mac Tony's book right now.
I do enjoy that Graham Hancock stuff just because I wanted to be an Egyptologist when I was a kid. I wanted to be an Egyptologist so bad. So like, that's kind of like a pleasurable pursuit for me, is like reading about Egypt and listening to Graham Hancock discuss ancient civilizations and stuff too.
Take Two Wheels. You're not the first person to talk about adaptive camo to us today. So,
Cowboy Five Ring says, Jesse, that beanie cap is fire. Thank you. It's 5'11". Like half of all of my clothes are 5'11". So yes, thank you.
That's the other thing that's just taken over our lives at this point, is that we used to sometimes dress like normal people. And now it's like everything we get, we're just like, that won't last in the woods. That won't last in the woods. I mean, like for Christmas, all we did was get each other like technical clothing.
Yeah, jackets,
raincoats, durable pants, boots, stuff like that. And it's just, we go out and I'm like going, God, people probably think we're in some sort of weird backwoods, like militia, just these redneck crypto hunting paramilitaries or something like that. But we just need stuff that's not going to get ripped up. So
Red Wolf says, talking about the drone crash footage almost makes me want a Hellbent Holler bloopers reel. I've started to include some of the funnier stuff in the videos, like when I talked about the tree having a penis. Normally, I would not have included that.
But it's weird because as this has gotten more like dark and disturbing, like you need a little bit of levity, or at least we do. You know what I'm saying? I don't want people to ever think that we don't take this seriously, because we do. But good Lord, man, sometimes we need to like just kind of like decompress a little bit. And we'll say like, we get gallows humor out there sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We'll hear stuff or see stuff, and one of us will look at the other one and go, well, it's nice knowing you. Hopefully they'll find this like SD card and like a giant pile of scat, and somebody will see what happened to us. So Hey, Patricia. Patricia says the next day when you guys went back, I thought I saw a black shadow on the hill above the road. You were not alone on that. You were not alone on that. Several people have seen it. And then Alan Lassiter, what's up, Alan? Have y'all ever seen the Brown Mountain Lights? Surprisingly, no. We keep talking about, we don't want to go up there and stand at the overpass and look at it. What we would like to do is kind of, there's certain times of the year where the lights are more active. And we would like to try to like get put into position on foot during the daytime and then be ready at night to see if we could like maybe get up close to them. Everybody just kind of hangs out at that overpass. The only problem, those mountains are really rugged and they're hard to move through. That may not even be possible, but that too, we want to get eventually I want to try to get Psionics is up in their sensor tech. I'd like to get one of their newer Psionics Pros that's really light sensitive. It's cheaper than Gen 3 night vision, which would be ideal, but we're not going to dump $5,000 into that right now. It's just not a viable possibility. But yeah, eventually we're going to do that. Now we did when we were at Lost Cove, North Carolina. We saw so many spook lights that it was crazy. And what was weird is again, I'm a foot taller than her.
We got to go back to Lost Cove because we had our old night vision cam that was black and white. And so we didn't get like a lot of color. What we saw. But that light at Lost Cove was just the deepest, brightest orange ever.
And it was intelligent. You would see it.
It was like the color of our set lights here, like this orange. That's what it looked like.
See it go down a mountainside, and I'm talking like these are very big mountains for the east, and you would just see it go down so quickly, and then go through the valley and scurry around, and then shoot up another, almost like somebody was standing there with like a giant laser pointer, just teasing a cat or something like that. And then they would follow us, and then they would duck back down. Then you would hear stuff. And you've got to get, the way you get out of Lost Cove is that you're just going back and forth up the side of this mountain. So you're not getting away from anything quickly.
Yeah, and it's so rocky.
It's backbreaking, like getting out of there.
It's boulders. It's like the size of, like if they were smaller, it'd be better. Or if they were larger, they were better. But they're that size where you are going to break your ankle.
Oh, it's really difficult. You're not moving quick on there. But
if you try to move any faster than just a snail's pace, you are going to break your ankle. And it's the middle of the night. We're trying to hike out of there.
And just like everything else, you try to debunk it and you go, okay, there's one way in and out of this place. We've been down there all day long. There's nobody else there. Okay. And then we leave and start seeing these lights and people are going, oh, it was probably just people with headlamps. And I'm going, were they like hidden? They went down there and hid themselves all day long from us and then just waited for us to leave. And then started to just kind of, again, it's not like they're doing a real like overt prank. That was very subtle. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there could have been a chance that we could have just hiked out without looking over our shoulders and never seen it. So
Zoso says, intensity pause / break. Take a deep breath, folks. In my opinion, the intro music chosen for the floating light video quite simply was perfect. Are you able to walk us through your creative editing process? So Joe wanted to try to learn how to do some editing stuff. So he sat in with me in my office and was watching me edit. And he's like, I don't understand what you're doing. You're clicking all over the place. I was like, this is just how I do it. I was like, just let me do it and then you'll like it, you know? Like I said, I'm self-taught. I had to just teach myself how to do all this. And I learn every time I do it. And it gets better and better every time I do it, I think. And I'm trying new things and getting a little more creative. And I'm having a good time learning it. And I think that the videos I'm producing are getting better and better. And I think I'm starting to be a little more creative with some stuff too.
The whole idea of this is to take anywhere from like 12 to 48 hours worth of like investigation and then distill it down so that you get an accurate feeling for what's going on without you having to set through 12 to 48 hours worth of footage. You know what I'm saying? And then we also want to kind of try to convey what we were feeling at the time. And that's so difficult to do through video sometimes, because sometimes we're in an area and it just feels dark and oppressive. And again, we're the sort of people that were out in fog where you can't see 10 feet in front of you in the middle of the night. And it was a relaxing night in the woods. There was nothing weird at all. But then you're out other times and it's just this feeling of oppression. So we try to without relying upon like cheap, like jump scares or like sound effects or anything like that, try to convey what we were feeling or what we felt when we were out there. So that was that. The forest was extremely foggy, and that fog coming in, and it was so thick, kind of set the tone for that expedition, and we wanted it to set the tone for the video.
Yeah, for sure. Sharon Lane says, y'all are living a real life adventure better than fictional TV shows. Yeah, it's a little exhausting sometimes.
It's exhausting because like you watch something like, we always talk about, man, we should have got into ghost hunting. You're indoors, you know. Oh, I'm just going to set all of my equipment up on this table and grab it whenever I want to, not haul it around on my back, you know, for like 10 miles. And then they've got help. They've got people to help them. With us, it's just two of us. So sometimes we might have a piece of equipment out and something happens and it's not the right piece of equipment that we needed out, but it's not like we're getting it out quick. We don't have production assistants or any sort of assistance. There's just two of us. One of us at least has to have at least one camera going to try to, otherwise, because that's the thing is that otherwise it's not necessarily, oh, this is going to make a great video. It's just that we want to talk about this stuff. And you can't always get footage for it, but sometimes you got to try, man, because otherwise you're just left with like, you're one more person telling a story, you know, that people may or may not believe, but it's a little rough sometimes, man. Having a big production crew would be definitely pretty easy sometimes for it. So
Crypto Castleberry was asking, do I have a preferred editing software? I use Adobe Premiere Pro.
If you look at the first few videos that she put out, she used the free video editing software,
Windows Movie Maker.
That was on the clearance laptop because our computer crapped out. We needed to get a laptop pretty quick.
Yeah.
We got a clearance laptop at Walmart that had that on there, and she used that
for the first few videos.
And then you went to Vegas Pro.
Yeah.
And it crashed all the time. And so it would take her forever to get videos out. And then she had spent like a week editing this video and then it crashed and she lost everything.
Lost the whole thing.
So we went and like got Adobe Premiere Pro after that. Mm-hmm. So.
Yep. And it's been very reliable and allowed me to be more creative.
WR Bruce had asked, why wasn't there any sign of people? No tracks, nothing scuffed up. On that hilltop, again, you see us mention it, that the footprints, we kind of went down in a little bit and then kind of like the ground would just kind of like rise back up. There were a few spots, and I think you put that on the video, that we thought we saw the impressions of feet, but it didn't look fresh. I don't know why there was anything on there. That's what makes me think it wasn't people, as weird as that sounds, because it didn't look like people had been there. Why were all the brambles? I mean, if there's deer up there eating those brambles and they're only eating them on this one particular spot, nowhere else, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? So the brambles were almost in like a circle. It's like you kind of just walked across a dividing line. Like there's normal foliage on one side of it, and then everything's just kind of down and gone on the other side. So I don't know. If it was people, then yeah, we should have seen something. If there was a campfire, we should have seen remnants of a campfire. We didn't see any of that. No. So
Cryptid Castleberry says, if the figures around the light were giving off the same heat as the trees, could they be cold-blooded? Could they be reptilians? I'm checking out. I'm done.
Take two wheels. You can address that since you've seen these photos more than we have, and I'll catch up to you eventually in the.
Yeah. I really don't want to deal with reptilians. That's not something that's.
Well, I've always said that like UFOs were my nope zone. That's where I was just going to pull the eject handle.
Apparently not. So.
And, well, I mean, I don't know. So.
Jonestead Farms says they're summoning something ancient in a portal area, possibly. It seems like a lot of stuff's lining up in this area. I don't know.
To me, it seemed like, and again, this is just a gut response that I can't really back. If you ask, well, why do you think that? That's just the way I felt. It was either summoning something or worshiping something. Like there was like some sort of like ritualistic circling to it. Again, I might have been reading too much into it. I don't know. So.
Ronnie Willis says, you can feel when ghosts are staring at you.
Along with the
man of the woods. Woof. Sometimes I wonder if we should get like a safer hobby.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Let's take up like bird watching.
No, let's just get out of the woods.
Darts.
Darts. Hellbent Holler dart team.
Rare Robert asked, do you think musical tones would attract cryptids? There's people who've tried that before. You hear that term flute players, like people that try to like attract in like Sasquatch with like flutes. People have taken guitars out there. Are our friend that runs Cryptid Response wants to try like a musical experience. I don't know. We've never tried anything like that. So possibly. So
Oh, since we're stopping here, we're not stopping here, but since we have like a break here, make sure you guys hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed to Hellbent Holler and make sure you share our stuff. If you really enjoyed the burning light video, if you found it fascinating, if you found it informative, if you found it scary, if you enjoyed it, make sure you share that with your friends. The more people we have watching this, the more minds we have on this, the more eyes we have on this.
The more people might look at that and go, hey, that had the same thing happen to me. This is what eventually happened.
Yeah. So make sure you share that, get that out there so other people can watch our videos and check those out. But make sure you hit that like button on the live stream right now.
Kaiju Ninja says, I'm curious if you left a game cam and audio at that spot. You didn't hear any kind of chanting, right? We heard nothing at all.
No, we didn't hear a single
anything
sound
at all. And it was quiet. And if it was a drone, we should have at least heard the of a drone.
Or it should have moved,
like a drone or anything like that. But no, I heard nothing at all. We're not going to go into detail, but we've got some stuff planned for that area to try to see if we can capture anything going on when we're not up there. So
I'm just so nervous that, we follow the missing 411 rules, but I'm so nervous we're going to get missing 411.
I'm more nervous about this now than I have been in a long time doing this stuff. So,
yeah. Ray Takea says, remember a lot of 411 cases revolve around granite and quartz is used in electronics and may somehow be involved in these orbs.
Yep. So, Dead End Yard Hunt said ghosts are cold on thermal. Yeah, they are. I don't think these were ghosts, but I don't know. I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. Francesco asked, were you worried you might have interrupted something when you saw the light? They didn't. We didn't interrupt anything. And what's weird is when we were standing there, Jesse's going out the thermal. I've got my headlamp on and I've got like a 9,000 lumen flashlight. I dug the super powerful flashlight out of the back when we were going up because the fog was so bad that I'm just randomly turning on around up there to see if we can catch anything. If the light we had was more, I don't want to say more powerful, but was lighting stuff up around us. So if we saw whatever that was, they should have seen us, easily should have seen us. And I even flashlighted a few times and I'm looking at it. You can hear her tell me that I've still got my headlamp on because I forgot I had my headlamp on, but we didn't really interrupt anything. They just kind of carried on like we weren't even there.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Even if they had missed us when I shot at them with that flashlight, there's no mistake in that, man. They would have seen that. You would have seen like people go, if it was people, go, hey, who's over there? What are you guys doing? Or go, hey, there's people over there. Stop this crazy forest satanic ritual that we're doing or whatever's going on. It just went on like we weren't there. It was like they just whatever it was, didn't acknowledge us or care that we saw it. So
Todd Hall says, hello. Was the area where the light was a mossy area? That would explain no footprints. It was pine needles.
Pine needles, real thick pine needles. Like the forest stuff is like really thick and springy through there. So finding the trackway. Hello, how are you?
Cowboy Five Rings says, it was crazy that you didn't hear anything.
Nothing at all. Nothing.
Nope.
And it's crazy that we didn't see anything until we were getting ready to leave. And then it was just there after we were looking around with a full spectrum camera, thermal, our own eyes, flashlights. So
Sheila Ebeline, great stuff, guys. Really remarkable. I have a friend who is a reference librarian for a major library system. She has an interest in the paranormal and probably suss out those symbols, sigils. Sheila, you need to email us.
Back, we sent
HELLBENTHOLLER@gmail.com.
Well, she emailed to us and then we
did she?
Yeah, and then
Okay,
she's
good.
been, I hope you're feeling better. She's had COVID for the second time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
Hope you're feeling better, Sheila.
Sheila, we want to send you some stuff. So please get back in touch with us with your shipping address if you haven't already.
We would like to send you a little care package.
And Sheila, if we next time we're up there, if a lot of times when we find these symbols, they're, except for the one behind our tent, they're usually older. We'll see if we can catch a good representation of one and then send it to you to see what your friend thinks about it.
Yeah,
that'd be
cool.
great. Thank you. So
Take Two Wheels said that Joe and Jesse, my friend's property I've sent some photos from, we found large chunks of quartz and white clay. So unusual here. Yeah, we are finding these just chunks of white quartz at all of these places. And remember that tree that we caught those sounds at, they had those chunks of quartz all around it and those roots. So there's some significance there.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Take Two Wheels has got a lot of weird stuff going on too. And we were all trading emails back and forth. Jesse was checking some of them. I was checking some of them. I think Take Two we've got like 12 email threads, different ones going on.
Yeah.
We've got to sit down together and just kind of go over all the emails that we've traded with you from start to finish. And probably just, we need to move to one email thread just to be able to keep everything similar. Cause you had asked us at one point, did you see those photos? And I'm going, I can't remember, man. We got like 12 different emails going back and forth. Let me go back and look here. So, but he's got some really weird stuff going on.
Finding the Trackway says, when you saw the light, did any particular odd word for it enter your thoughts?
Not at the time, but the impressions that I had afterwards is that I was rich. We were observing a ritual of some sort. I'm not even saying a ritual done by people, but a ritual of, there was something, I don't even know if ritual is the right word. Tradition's not the right word.
Yeah.
We looked like we were seeing prescribed actions that were being carried out for a purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's the definition of ritual. Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah. Regina Davis says, Jess, it seemed like it was pulling you towards it. Yeah. When I'm in the car afterwards, I'm like, I wanted to go to it so bad because I don't know if it's compelling me to come to it, or it's just the way I am is my curiosity and everything is, I'm just like, I have to see what this is. So I was like, I want to go to it. I must go to it. I must see it. It's not like it's taking me, or it might be taking me. It's just how I'm interpreting it.
I'm responsible for getting us out of the woods alive. So,
Sharon Lane says, please consider carrying a GPS tracker on your body, not in a backpack. It could save your life if things go south. I always carry a Garmin InReach Mini on my person. If it's not if it's not attached to my backpack, it's on my person. I always have that. And I had that actually while we were out there
set up, and it's leaving a little trail of electronic breadcrumbs that the people that we have watch out for us when we go out there can see exactly where we are. And then she can use it as a personal locator beacon, send like an emergency signal if she wanted to.
Yeah.
Helps not coming anytime soon, but
no. I do send messages to somebody back home constantly, so they know where we're at and they know what's going on. So those are very handy. If you spend any time out in the woods, I do suggest that you get one of those. If you go fishing a lot, go hunting, or if you do the kind of work that we do or hiking, I think it's very, very important that you get a Garmin InReach Mini because it could save your life.
Not that expensive. And Eric Vasquez, hello, sir. How are you?
They've actually got, I think they have the Garmin InReach Mini at Costco right now.
Yeah, it's not that much. I mean, if you do it, get the one where you get like unlimited free, like, I can't remember we always call it breadcrumbs, where you're leaving little electronic breadcrumbs. It tracks it updates your position every like 10 minutes so that somebody could kind of see the path that you took and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth it to get that. So
yeah. Patricia Gambino Harrington says, I found it interesting and more than a little concerning that you both had irritated faces after being there.
Mine was not as bad as hers, but hers was like red in the car. Mine the next day was just, and if you've noticed me tonight, my eyes have been bothering me a little bit, especially my left eye since then. My eyes have been really sensitive, but there's also like a ton of colds and stuff like that going around. But my eye has been extremely sensitive since then. I don't know why. It could be coincidence. Like we haven't felt well since we saw it.
Not really.
But then again, it's cold and flu season.
It is.
Nobody around us feels well. So it could just be happenstance. So we don't want to try as large as that loomed for us. I don't want to attribute everything that happens to us to it. So if that makes sense.
Jay Myers says, you need to put a leash on Jessie. If she wants to go to the light, just give it a tug.
I grabbed her though, the back of her chest rig and like literally just jerked her back. And then if you hear me snapping at her because I'm going, put the thermal away, because I was afraid she got mad, but I was afraid she was going to start trying to like spot it with the thermal again. So yeah, I was snappy. I was like, start the car. And she's like going, I need both my hands to start the car. And then like since then she's been going, did you think I wasn't going to start the car? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you were going to just go, hey, I think let me take one more look before we go, I mean, you could tell the differences in the tones of our voice getting out of there. She's all excited and happy. And I'm going, you need to listen to me.
Yeah, listen to me for once.
Listen to me and just let me tell you that there were figures around it. At first I was going, are those people? And then I'm going, I can't even say those were people, but they were figures. So
Rob S says, I imagine the ritual would take some time to perform. They saw you guys, but couldn't stop the process. Hence, it popped up all of a sudden.
But where were they at while we were up? Because we were up there for a while.
And I spun around.
You just saw a representation, but we were up there probably in that spot for about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
An estimate, just looking around.
How freaky is it if it opened up and then they emerged from it?
Possibly, you know what I'm saying? So.
Oh God. Finding the Trackway says, was there a sensation of sunburn after? That's how I felt afterwards. My face was so hot and it was so irritated. And the next day it wasn't as bad, but it was still kind of irritated.
I had irritated spots on my face. And then, like I said, especially my left eye has been a little weepy and it feels odd. So.
Benita Wilcox says, Joe and Jesse, did you both experience disorientation once you investigated the light area?
We did a little bit. And I think you even had that in there where I just went, I feel a little odd. Yeah.
The next day we went back and we went up to the area where the light was located. And I think at one point Joe says, do you feel like a little fuzzy, like mentally clouded?
But then again, we didn't get a lot of sleep that night. So you could chalk it up to that.
Yeah, we were so excited.
But a lot of times we don't get a lot of sleep doing this and we don't feel as, I don't want to say disoriented, but just a little off. So.
Oh, Jesus. No one says, one does not interrupt the ritual to bring
back the king.
Oh, no. As long as it's not the king in yellow.
The king in yellow, yeah.
Paramedic says it looked to be at least 50 yards from you.
You could tell when we, like I said, there's that spot where we turn all of the infrared on and it lights up from us through the woods and you can see the trees. You kind of get an idea of the distance to it. You know what I'm saying? So,
but we know exactly where it was because we hiked back up there the next day and there's a drop off on the other side there. Yeah. So it couldn't have been any further away than where we were.
And the trees are thick through there. So, and then it wasn't on the mountain behind it because again, you could see where it was. You could see there were trees behind it. When we moved, you could see it kind of, I mean, you could tell where it was. I mean, we know where the spot was. It was on that hilltop. So
Brian Wigfull says, hey mate, can you describe the fuzzy feeling you felt the next day? It's kind of just mental,
slow. I was having trouble talking.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read off what I'm seeing on the instrumentation and I'm just having a hard time explaining what was going on to it. I even was trying to say something and I kept just getting tongue tied. Yeah. And I even looked at you and I was like,
couldn't really craft a complete thought.
I was like, I'm having a hard time explaining what's going on right now. So
Sharon Lane says that high magnetic fields can make you feel disoriented. We've thought a lot about this getting hit with like radiation. And
I'm very familiar with EM field sensitivity. And that is one of the things is that you start to feel warm and you just your mind starts missing a cylinder there. Mark Hastings, when you went back to check the place where the big light was to inspect it, did you or did you not find the stick structure in the ground? Yeah, we found that weird stick symbol on the ground right there. But it had pine needles on it. It didn't look fresh. It had been there for a while. But yeah, it was right there, plain as day. Plain as day.
Alex W. asks, what's the whole king in yellow thing? Where should I look to learn more about it?
The king in yellow it's tied in with like Lovecraftian. I can never remember the guy's name. Robert Chambers. It's
the first season of True Detective is
about the King in Yellow.
About the King in Yellow.
The King in Yellow is a kind of like a Lovecraftian, terrible, like just entity that is tied in with like the Lovecraftian pantheon of like the great old ones and all of that.
Pure evil.
Yep.
Pyromedics said, how far would you guesstimate the distance from us and the light?
I'm
just terrible with
50 feet. I'd say it was more like it was further than that. 50 to 75 yards.
Yeah.
Guesstimate. But now that we go up there, we know where we were standing at, and we think, we've got to within 10, 15 feet, an idea of where that light was. We'll be able to we'll get an actual measurement of it.
Yeah, we can do that.
We were more interested in getting like some, because we can check the measurement of like the distance anytime. I wanted to get like some residual readings to see if there was any like residual radiation and all of that. So,
it's concerning, isn't it?
Yep.
Jesse and Joe, Matt Keenan says, Jesse and Joe, do you plan on having any meetups in the future? I think the only thing we are attending is Monster Fest as of right now.
We don't really have time to do a lot of like conferences and stuff like that, either as attendees or to go there and like speak or meet with people and stuff like that. We're still fairly unknown with a lot of this stuff as well.
I am thinking about us going to that Florida Bigfoot thing, just because I love seeing David Paulides and Ron Moorhead, and I love seeing them together. So we were thinking about doing that, but we know for certain we are going to be at Monster Fest. We're going to have a table at Monster Fest because we're one of the sponsors of Monster Fest, and that's put on by Small Town Monsters. Seth Breedlove is awesome. So we are one of the sponsors of that event. That's going to be June 3rd in Canton, Ohio. And if you guys are able to, you really ought to come out. I know Stan Gordon is speaking. There's a lot of really cool people that are going to be speaking at that. And there's going to be really good vendors. And Joe and I are going to have a table there.
Yeah, and we're not vending anything. We don't have anything to sell. I mean, we don't make money doing this stuff. So
yeah, I don't think we have anything to sell.
We're just gonna be there.
We're gonna be we got a table
talking to people.
We have a table to hang out. That's basically it.
We're gonna have Martin Groves with us
and Dewey Edwards.
And Dewey Edwards with us. Martin will probably set up, because it is a Seth Breedlove Small Town Monsters conference, and he was in the best like Small Town Monsters documentary they've done. He'll probably be a little minor celebrity, but we figured we'd put him at like one of our tables with us, just all hang out because we love Dewey and Martin a great deal. And we'll just hang out up there and just talk to people, man. We're not up there like selling anything or pushing anything or, hey, check out our new book. We're just going to be up there just shooting the breeze with people.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun. But that's June 3rd in Canton, Ohio. Monster Fest. And you guys can find all the information for that at smalltownmonsters.com. And we are definitely going to be going and having a blast at that.
Jay Meyer says, Joe, you're cautious, and Jesse is curious like a cat. Jesse is just used to having like this like 6'3" goon with her all the time. You know what I'm saying? So and that's like my thing is that if it's Jessie can take care of herself, you know what I'm saying? She goes armed. I mean, she carries a 10mm just like I do. She can shoot and everything like that. But a lot of times she's guiding us because she's got a better sense of direction than I do.
That's why in the video, Joe goes, can you get us out of here?
So what usually happens is that we each look at it from like a different viewpoint where we're at, is that she is looking to guide us through there. And I'm keeping an eye on everything around us to try to just, I guess, play security at that point, So when she looks at it, she's just like, I want to go to it. My thing is just like, I've got to make sure that she gets out of there,
Yeah.
I mean, and you've seen this in some of our videos too. I mean, it doesn't happen often because she can take care of herself, but twice I've taken her back to the truck just because I'm going, I need to not worry about where she's at this moment. I need to focus on what's going on here. And I need to try to catch whatever in the hell this is. And I'll just dip back into the woods at that point. I did it with that wolf thing.
Yes.
And then I did it with that thing that paced us out after you got charged that time. So,
yes.
But yeah, I mean, because that's the other thing too, is I've got to get her somewhere where she's just not going to go running at it with a camera to try to get like footage at it.
I think I might have a mental deficiency or something, because I'm not very risk adverse.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm very, I don't know. I don't think things through sometimes. So
well, you're extremely like methodical in thinking some things through, but it's like we're both so like, I don't want to say desperate, but we just get like little teases, man. We'll have people tell us like, oh, I've got a pack of dogmen living in my backyard and I feed them sardines and I just this and this. We haven't ever had an experience like that. We just get these tantalizing little glimpses of stuff that just drives us crazy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that desire to just kind of rush towards something thinking this might be it. This is going to give me some understanding. But again, I've got to make sure that we get out of there alive, man.
Yes.
So
Sharon Lane says, y'all are intelligent, articulate, informative, and entertaining to watch. Thank you, Sharon. Let's see here. Kaiju Ninja 1985 says, "Have you ever had to use your guns out in the field? We've drawn our guns,
Yeah, we've drawn our guns a few
but
times.
we've never had to fire upon anything."
Because again, you always have to have. It's not outside the realm of possibility sometimes that you might have an experience where somebody is just pranking you. I mean, we're very careful not to say where we go to. Exactly. But, we've mentioned some of the places we go to, like Lost Cove. You can find out where Lost Cove's at. Again, you have to start. Is it logical? Did somebody like get dropped off by a ride, and have they stayed in the woods for days waiting on the possibility for us to show up? They've hidden themselves from thermal. They're moving through woods like a ninja. They're using the latest gen like night vision to go through that's not emitting any infrared for us to pick up. It's not likely, and quite honestly, it's pretty much almost impossible, but there's a slight chance that something could happen. So we're always very careful not to just start shooting willy-nilly, but we have pulled our guns out before. There's been cases where we've heard stuff and seen stuff, and we're just going, all right, just to rule out the possibility it's people. We've yelled that we're armed, So
Jay Myers says, "Being armed is good, but anything could be on you both before you know it."
Oh, absolutely. No matter how well that thing that bluff charged you that night moved through the woods like a freight train, and it was just fast. It covered a lot of ground almost instantly, and then it just stopped and disappeared. That the two times I've gone back into the woods alone after stuff, you just can't catch it. It moves through the forest quicker than you can. So,
just always chasing it.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, the plan would be that we would get a few shots off at least. You know what I'm saying? So.
Take Two Wheels says, "Joe and Jesse, what frame was that shadow or figure you saw near the ridge?" I don't know. Somebody gave us a timestamp in the comments.
Somebody gave us a time because I just made mention of it that I thought we saw something, and then other people were going, "Hey, we literally just saw this," but it's in the comments. We got a ton of comments on our videos because we always try to respond to everybody. So
yeah,
it's a little difficult to get through, but Jay Myers says, "How'd you mention that iodine tablets? Do y'all take them for radiation poisoning?" No, we have potassium iosate that I actually have some of that back just in case. It's one of those probably never need this. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I got to check. I've had them for like a while now. I don't know what the expiration date is on that, so I need to check that out. But I was actually thinking that the other day. I was going, "Thank God I've got these," So
I take an iodine supplement for my thyroid. So yeah. No one says, "Not very risk averse," says the girl who wanted to go and hug Satan. Yeah. I don't know what's your first clue that I'm a bit impulsive and not risk averse? Would it be the hand tattoos that say Hellbent or
Take Two Wheels? Kaiju Ninja had the timestamps. Thank you, buddy.
I'm going to run.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So a little break.
Yeah, I'll probably go after you. So we'll probably go for like a little bit longer
if you
here.
Can man the ship.
Man the ship.
Man the ship.
But yeah, I was very did you just post something?
No.
Oh, I'm getting updates from days ago for our channel. So never mind.
I'm on the show.
But yeah, so like I said, if anybody else got anything that you want to say, any thoughts, any questions or like that about it doesn't necessarily have to be about the last video we put out. It could be about anything you want to bring up. Dead End Yard Hunt's got something. You have to watch out for feral people. They could be living the Vita Loca. We put feral people on the thing because I was going, if those are people doing this, they didn't drive up there. There's no cars up there, and it's not like this is like an area with like hiking or camping or anything like that. And again, obviously they were just here not knowing we were going to come there. And I was just going, maybe there's people up there, anywhere like east of the Mississippi, you don't have the distances like you got out west or up into, Canada or anything like that. But some of that terrain through there is like really rough. Some of it's still sparsely populated. Some of it's areas that nobody goes to. So there's parts down here. There's parts of this part of the South where you just don't go into if you're not from there. We talked about that story recently where those people that had just relocated to this area were going out to try to find some hiking, and they came back and their car had been just completely disabled. And other people started chiming in that had happened to them too. And I'm going, yeah, because these people have been there for like a few generations, and there's no outsiders, you know, and they don't want a couple of yuppies from Connecticut, you know, out there like messing around. So they're going to disable your stuff.
What subject are we on right now?
So my thing is that, and it's weird because I don't know if Barton's on tonight or not, but while we were talking to Barton the other night, and I'm going, a lot of people will go, there's the concept of feral people in America in the 21st century is just crazy. And I'm going, well, you know, define feral. Let's say that you haven't had much contact outside of your immediate family for a few generations. Nobody has a social security number or a birth certificate. You've never had running water, power, been to school, or really seen anybody outside of a small handful of people your entire life. You may not be like, you know, dressing in furs and like grunting at each other, but you're pretty feral at that point, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, you don't really have any of the societal, you know, structure that's been put upon you. You don't really have like modern morals possibly or anything like that. I mean, you've
no
lived
socialization.
You've lived a very primitive, bare bones life that's focused on survival. And that's pretty much the definition of feral at this point. So
Sharon Lane says, they say there are places in Southeast Oklahoma where no people have ever gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's places
there's large swaths of wilderness in the Great Smoky Mountain National
that nobody's
Park.
ever gone to. And that park is visited. It's probably the most visited national park around, but everybody's concentrated in just very small areas. And there's spots where nobody goes to. They're difficult to get to. As the population around here has blown up, you know, a lot of people want to do outdoor activities, and you go to these areas and like, say you just want to go on a random regular hike, you know, all the parking areas are just swarmed with cars. And if you're able to find somewhere to park and get in, the first natural barrier you get to, whether it's a water crossing or it's like an elevated climb, once you get past that, you don't see anybody, you know? So
Zoso says, you both have to be ever wondering if your vehicle is going to be sabotaged. It's got to be ever present in your mind. It's only human. But after seeing that beat up truck with the weirdos, how do you deal? That's why we left and could not investigate Corpsewood Manor.
And that's why we've got a plan on how to go back. Because when we go back, we're going to need to leave somebody with the vehicles. And that's not the only place we've ever really kind of gotten that feeling before. There's a spot that we want to investigate that we went into real briefly one night. It's pretty sketchy. Jesse doesn't want to film there because there's just so much like garbage and stuff. The old cemetery that's up there, that Confederate cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
But you can tell that there's people going back in there that are just being sketchballs, but there's rumors of like paranormal activity around there. There's old mattresses that are burned and stuff like that. And that's one area that we're hesitant to go to because for that same reason, not because we're going to run it, not the actual running into people or anything paranormal, but it's having our vehicle disabled because I mean, we've got a personal locator beacon. It's going to be a few hours. We're armed. We'll be able to defend ourselves, but we still got to go to work Monday. And if our car's trashed, that's going to be a real world impact on us beyond just us out going doing this stuff, you know? So
there was a spate of like people were drilling into gas tanks and stuff near that area.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's a real thing.
James Boggs goes, have you ever considered body armor, ballistic helmets, or even tinfoil hats? It's the weight thing, man. I mean, keep in mind, we did 14 miles that one night in the fog where nothing happened. But let's just say an average night is like 10 miles hiking. And that's not counting what we did during the daytime to like scout the area out and all that. We've got to carry water, some food, medical stuff in case one of us gets hurt, flashlights, spare batteries. We carry at least a camera, a thermal. We carry digital recorders, GPS units, backup compass, all the stuff that you would carry for like a normal hike. Plus, we're doing it in the dark, so we got to carry like medical stuff with us.
That's why you see these people who are like super tacked out with like their plate carrier and their helmets and
drop leg holsters on and stuff like that. And
know they're not going out in the woods doing this.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you're not doing. You're just not. You're wearing a costume at that point.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we'll go. People will be like, "Oh, you should have used this," and I'll be like, "We didn't have it with us, man. We've got backpacks that we carry." And
if you're going into the woods, you have to. If you're hiking into the woods, you're not going to be in full head to toe SWAT gear.
Yeah,
you know.
And you'll notice that if you look at our original like videos, we were carrying like really big Osprey backpacks back then. And now we're carrying smaller Mystery Ranch packs just because it's you can pack those big backpacks to the brim with stuff. And then if you need what's on the bottom of the pack, I mean, you ain't getting it anytime soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, it would just be a weight thing. And if you run into some, I mean, obviously like body armor would be helpful if we end up getting into a shootout with some hellbillies up there, you know, but if you run across something with like teeth and claws, that level 4 plate may not do you as much good.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Deuster said if you go to family reunions to pick up women, you
may be feral, man. So
yeah. Ray Takaya says, have you watched the new 411 UFO Connection movie? It may offer some ideas to your investigation.
yes, and
yes, that was very good.
awesome.
We really enjoyed that. We enjoyed that movie.
And we know David Pilates is polarizing.
Yes.
Last time we talked about David Pilates, the chat went crazy with people arguing over him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we agree with everything that he
Nah, but
thinks.
you know what he did, that's a great film. That's a great film. If you have an opportunity to watch it, if you haven't yet, just go check that out because it's very well done. It's shot nicely.
The elk
and
part
the
is
information
weird.
is wild. The elk stuff is so
weird. And you think it's, I'll be honest with you, the first time I watched it, I was like, this is kind of silly, man. But then you've got to be, we always talk about you go to where the evidence takes you. You know, if something's leading you in that direction, even if maybe previously it sounded ridiculous. I mean, the whole idea of Dogman sounded ridiculous to me a few years ago.
Yeah.
The idea that I'm sitting here talking about like ley lines, that's a few years ago, I would have been like, what the hell's wrong with you, Joe? Like, what are you talking about, ley lines? But now I'm going, it's probably worth looking into. So I thought the elk thing was a bit weird, but then I'm going, you know what, if that's where the evidence was leading him to. And if you've been following David Pilates, the big complaint everybody always had for him, he wouldn't say what he thought it was.
Yeah, but
And
now
then,
he's starting to come out.
Come on, man. We saw him speak with Ron Moorhead, and you know how Ron Moorhead's all into the quantum Bigfoot and vibrations, and it's interdimensional, and it's here, but it's existing on a slightly altered plane of reality than us. And then you watch like David Pilates, they did a panel discussion together.
It was wonderful.
And it was like Ron Moorhead and David Pilates, and then everybody else up there is just like Bigfoot's a monkey.
Yeah.
And then so Ron Moorhead, he's like the first one sat out there. He's a little older, you know. But David Pilates comes out, walks past him, and like literally puts his hands together and just bows at Ron Moorhead. And then it was just basically the two of them against the rest of the panel for the rest of it. And as David Pilates talked, you're going, he thinks that there's something like interdimensional happening with these missing 411 things. And if you notice, he's giving you the impression that the alien phenomenon, the UFO phenomenon, is interdimensional, not extraterrestrial for it as well. And it seems like everything that I was thinking about this the other day, it used to be that the extraterrestrial hypothesis for UFOs was the dominant theory, and that the interdimensional hypothesis was just the weirdos, even though Jacques Vallée was into it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like focused on the nuts and bolts craft that come in. And Jacques Vallée was just he was brilliant, but he was fringe, you know? And now the interdimensional or the ultra terrestrial hypothesis, those are the people that are front and center with all this. They're the ones that are getting the government money and that are like doing all of this stuff. And the extraterrestrial people have been kind of pushed to the side. They've been kind of marginalized by it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, I think you're starting to see, regardless of what your own personal beliefs are, I think you're starting to see that with the physical cryptid stuff. You're starting to see the flesh and blood, but they ain't flesh and blood from here. You know, you're starting to see that kind of take front and center with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, that's it. And we saw them speak at the is it Smoky Mountain Bigfoot?
I think so. Yeah.
Conference.
One of the few that we've gone to.
Yeah. But that was wonderful. And we were actually, I know we mentioned this before. We're talking about maybe going to the event in Florida because they're both speaking. And it's just so good to see them like on stage together and talking about stuff and really talking about these ideas. So I was just looking at that. That's the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference, but David Pilates and Ron Moorhead are headlining. Now, Jeff Meldrum's also going to be there. So we might, if they do like a panel at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, we might have some
friction,
some beefs, friend.
Oh, especially because David Pilates has been doing those like Bigfoot 101 classes, which we haven't we haven't had a chance to watch hardly any of them, but the one clip that we saw, he basically called Jeff Meldrum an a-hole, you know. So he was pretty upfront about Jeff Meldrum, going, "Hey, he's smart, but he's kind of a jerk," you know. So and we were going, "Damn, he's gonna be on stage with this dude before."
It's gonna be all. I kind of want to go now.
Yeah.
Glenn Snyder has said, "Joe, I wish you would carry a 12 short barrel rig, knockdown power."
We carry a Mossberg Shockwave. You don't usually if you don't see it on camera, it doesn't mean we don't have it. It's just that a lot of times too, that if we pull our guns out, we want to include it in the video to kind of show you how seriously we were taking that moment in time. But like when we carry like long arms and all that, YouTube's like real sensitive about that stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we won't include that in. And we're not always carrying the Shockwave either. Like in that area that we saw the light in, we've carried the Shockwave. But yeah, we'll carry the Shockwave, and I've got a green laser side saddle on it and everything like that. So
yeah, that's why we got that thing, is to carry it.
We got it after LBL.
Mm-hmm.
So we got it after LBL. I came back and I'm just going, we need to like up gun right now, man. So we
use enough gun.
Yeah, we went and got the Shockwave like after we saw that thing on thermal at the LBL. So
James Boggs says, "I wholeheartedly agree, interdimensional, but what is that dimension, and what is in charge there?"
Exactly right. Or the other thing that I've been kind of coming back to is that it's maybe they don't exist outside of this dimension. Maybe they're in this dimension, they exist outside of our perception.
Yeah.
And occasionally they come into it for whatever reason. So Ozzy Baza said, "What is your cat's name again? I've forgotten, but I know it's a brilliant name. Our indoor cat is called Cobra Commander."
That's her name. Yeah, she is Cobra Commander, and then our outdoor cat is Thomas.
Tom Thumb, because he's got thumbs.
Yeah, he's a polydactyl cat, so he has thumbs. So, but we call him Little Thomas, and then Cobra Commander. Cowboy Fibering says that yep, Joe, the Pilates Bigfoot class has been very informative with some very interesting takes.
Yeah, I need to sit down and catch up on.
He does a great job. I mean, he's a very thorough individual. You know, you can tell he's a very, he just thinks about stuff, and he just is so thorough with everything he does.
William Kennedy, apple pectin for minor radiation exposure, pill form. I did not know that.
It's a good suggestion.
Thank you, William. William, I got to sit down and go through all your letters tonight too. Like I said too, that we looked at the photos that you sent.
Yeah.
We got to look at some of them a little bit closer. But yeah, that was some wild stuff that you have sent. We'll
yeah, thank you for sending that to us. That's going to go into the file.
Yeah. Jay Myers had said, "Y'all need an ATV. They have a setup to silence them down." I would love that, or I would love like an e-bike, but right now that's outside the budget, man. Until we get that wealthy sponsor who just goes, "Listen, I want some answers to this stuff. Here's some cash, go to it." And until that day happens, we're gonna be hoofing it. So
we need our very own Tom Slick is what we need.
Sharon Lane says, "David gives good advice about personal protection in the outdoors." Yeah, we always follow the Pilates rules. We go armed, try to stay together, although that's not always possible. And then we carry personal locator beacons. So Shanob has shown up. People are drifting in and out of the chat.
Cryptid response. Hello. Deuster's going to bed. Good night, Deuster.
Hi, Deuster.
Tell D hello. Yeah, I think everybody's like going to bed early tonight. We might not go as long as we usually go.
Yeah. Shira Ronan Gaming, regardless of what you think of David Pilates, he's doing what he can to shine a light in a place not many want to go to. Yeah, you know what? I mean, nobody really talked about these. I mean, there's always been like mysterious disappearances discussed about. Nobody ever looked at it from like such a high level and so data intensive. And yeah, I mean, regardless of what you think about him, because I don't agree with him on everything that he thinks about Sasquatch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just don't.
But you know, like that healthy discourse, you know, it's good to have that healthy discourse.
And he is a bit touchy about some stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you look at, I mean, the guy had to cancel a freaking appearance because he was getting death threats. I mean, and the police in that area were like, these are pretty actionable threats just because they're, and I'm going, so somebody disagrees with him to the point that they're making death threats to him. I'd be a little touchy too. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
what was that thing I posted the other day? Squatch Me Now posted. It's like just a clip of
David Pilates going, there are some lunatics.
No, let me tell you something about the Bigfoot community. It's full of psychos.
Yeah,
And I was
so-
like, I laughed so hard. I was like, God, it's so true.
We've
So
had
true.
we had people like that, because I mean, if there are people in this chat right now that have left comments before going, hey, I think it was this, you know what I'm saying? And I go, I don't think so. This is why. Whenever we post this stuff, we have gone over it with a fine-tooth comb and tried to like find different stuff to explain it. That's not to say that we don't hear new stuff all the time that I go, I did not think about that. But there's people in this chat that we've disagreed with, that we don't agree with on everything. There's people that we correspond with on a regular basis that have completely opposite views on a lot of this stuff than we do. And that's awesome, because that means we're not in an echo chamber. You know what I'm saying? Even if I don't agree with that opinion, I still want to hear it,
Yeah.
because there might be validity to it. And it might actually kind of expand the way we think on stuff. But like all the people that are just so insulting and condescending, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to talk to
It's full of psychos.
this person who has a random YouTube channel because they are the only expert on this and you guys are a bunch of fools. We're not going to carry that conversation on. I'm just going to block it and move on, because yeah, you get a lot of, it's weird that something that there's a topic that hardly anything is like proven about, and yet people have such strong beliefs on it that they are willing to threaten bodily harm.
Old man screaming at clouds.
To complete strangers because they have dared to not to not go just lockstep with them. So
Kaiju Ninja 1985 says, so I've brightened the footage of when you're looking up on the ridge, and I'm just wondering what you think you saw. Was the shadow figure moving? Did it look tall, humanoid shape? I didn't see like what kind of shape it was.
I didn't see it either. It was
I just
moving.
saw a dark something move in my peripheral vision.
And it could have been a branch blowing in the breeze.
I saw it move some distance.
Yeah, that's what I kind of saw it too, but I can't say for sure. And it was out of the corner of my eye. Other people are saying that they're seeing something jump from like branches and all that. So if somebody was to go, hey, I focused in on that, and there is a squirrel jumping from one tree to the other, and or something like that, I would go, that might be what we saw.
Yeah.
So I just can't say anything. So, I mean, you're in the woods.
You need to use your critical thinking skills.
Your critical thinking skills. Yeah. Oh, good God.
Rick does Shotokan says, Jesse Joe, who would win in a fight, Bigfoot or Dogman?
I don't think they fight. I think that
they're in cahoots.
I think all of this stuff's in cahoots. I don't think that any of this stuff is at cross purposes with one another. I think it's either, if it's not different manifestations of one great overarching phenomenon, then I just don't think. But anyway, if they did, I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? So we don't take the viewpoint that Bigfoot is like Harry and the Hendersons. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that obviously Dogman's bringing some natural weapons to the table. I don't know though, man. Like, Bigfoot's described as having like talons and fangs, and the thing I saw when I was a kid had big flat teeth. Yeah. But that might not have been a Bigfoot. I don't know what the hell that was.
But you're thinking about maybe with a Sasquatch, you'd have like brute strength.
I don't know. So,
but then with Dogman, you would have the
ferocity
and the cunning. Rob S says, I don't think the average person realizes how prevalent satanic groups are in their communities. Very widespread in every area. It's a lot more prevalent than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there was the satanic panic of the 90s, but some of that stuff turned out to be real. Some of it was just...
When I was a kid, I remember we had like a little hometown newspaper, and like one Halloween, it's just like a black and white newspaper. One Halloween, the front page is like this big image of this dude in like a black robe, and you're like, he's kind of facing away from it. And the whole story was about the huge amount of occult activity that was going on in this area. Okay. And it was just crazy because like the editor for the paper lived behind us. Our backyards kind of touched together. So of course, I'm a kid who's like into all this weird stuff. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh yeah, it's weird, and it's just something about this area. So this circle of friends that I had, one of the older brothers, who was just a few years older than us, was like a cop. And he was kind of like a skinny kid in high school, you know what I'm saying? And he was like constantly trying to like overcompensate. He was a great cop, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't like somebody on a power trip, but he was just somebody who, matter of fact, after like there was a bad stock market crash one year, and this dude lost everything and like literally set his house on fire and had his family trapped in there. This is back like when nothing was encrypted. And of course we got a police scanner. You know, my grandmother would like listen to the police scanner all night, every night. Eric was the guy that volunteered to go in. He was a brave dude. So he had bought a cabin out at this place where they had just developed part of this forest. And we were going out to check the cabin out. And he had just bought a Walther PPK pistol, and he hadn't shot it yet. So he wanted to go out there because it was outside the town limits and shoot it. So we went out there. It's like me, his sister, and him. We pull up in his thing. He's got the Walther, and then he pulls like another gun out of the glove box. And I'm just like, oh, cool. We're like shooting both guns. And he's like, y'all wait in the car for a second. And he gets out and he's looking around and everything like that. He checks the cabin out. We get out, and this dude's just on edge like all day long. And we're leaving, and I'm like, so what's going on, man? Like, you know, what's going on out here? And he goes, dude, I was up here like a few weeks ago, and I spent the night up here because he still had a house in town. And he's like, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just hearing like somebody scream bloody murder. So this dude's like a cop's cop. You know what I'm saying? You know, he rolls out of bed. He's a cop in a small town who's got like a bravery complex. He's waiting for stuff like this to happen. You know what I'm saying? And he grabbed a gun, and he said he got to the door and he couldn't open the door. He was just standing there trying to psych himself up. And he goes, it sounded so horrible, I couldn't open the door. He waited till daylight. And, you know, this is before like cell phones were a thing, you know. He went out, he like looked around, he called it in, and like, you know, some county cops came out. He was a city cop, and they looked around and they found this like fire ring out there with like a bunch of blood there. Now they thought it was deer blood, and he was going, that didn't sound like a deer. Like,
yeah.
And it turned out there was like crazy occult activity going out there. This is just like small town USA. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like we're in the swamps of Louisiana or anything like that, you know. This is Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, you know. And that's just something that always stuck with me, is that if it was going on in that little area when I was a kid, it's going on all sorts of places.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And it's everything from bored teens that are involved into it, and it's people who are into it because their parents were into it and their grandparents were into it.
A
And
lot of that secret societies and satanic cults and anything like that is, a lot of it's generational. A lot of it is familial. They'll all
multi-generational.
Yeah, they
on.
pass it down to whoever their children are.
And there's that, we talked about True Detective season 1, that like backwoods cult that's like involved with that. That's based on a church that was in Louisiana. We were living down there. There was a church that was busted for a bunch of like child abuse and all that. That the church was basically a cover for satanic worship, and it had been going on for generations down there. And all towns involved with it, even the ones that they couldn't arrest, that they couldn't prove, they knew that they were involved with it. And again, that just seems so out of place in like 21st century America, but it's going on, man. It's really going on out there. And it seems like in a lot of places that human activity is tied in with the other weird non-human stuff that's going on, man. So you can say it's demonically sourced. It's from a demonic source. You can just say it's two separate things that are attracted to the same location for the same reason. I don't know, man, but that was a little story from my childhood, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed it.
Just a satanic cult story
just
from my childhood.
Yeah, just a satanic cult story from my childhood.
So I'm trying to find that maker of that mug. I really am. I don't have like there's no stamp.
Barton only popped in. What's up, buddy? So
I'll find it eventually.
Jay Myers said, you talk about fundings for funds, all these fancy to contact A&E Travel Channel. Hey, Travel Channel, there are these two weirdos that live in like the Carolinas. Y'all need to, I mean, if we wanted to go do like just some goofy TV show, we could probably get one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were do the dark stuff.
Cryptid dating. Yeah, we are looking here.
Matt Keane says, I do think that area you were at in your new video had something wicked in it. I have thought that since and you put that in some of the videos.
Yeah.
That I just go, this is a bad place. This is just a bad place. I mean, this is a bad place. It's a bad place up there. There's like a darkness up there, and it feels ancient up there.
Yeah, there's definitely, and you just get like a feeling off of some places. some places, some people, you know, that there's just something wrong about it.
Yeah. Cryptic response. Let's hit that smash button. Let's hit that smash button. Smash that like button.
Let's hit that smash button.
I'm still having a hard time talking. But yeah, man, I just told you guys a childhood satanic cult. Least y'all can do is hit that like
That's the
button
least
for
you
us.
can do.
Least you can do.
Y'all, I'm looking for this dang thing. I'm not gonna find it.
TCR 44. Thank you for being professional and dedicated. It's so refreshing to see in this field. It's why we constantly Stephen Taylor's like getting involved in like field research, and I'm just like, if there's anything we can do to help you, I mean, we'd like to see more serious people get into this, not people that are just kind of. We were doing this, and then we decided to put videos up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if we stopped doing YouTube tomorrow, we'd still be doing the field investigations.
Especially now, all the stuff that we've seen and we've experienced,
Yeah.
you can't just walk away from it. There's no walking away. There's no going back to the way things were before we saw all this, before we experienced all this.
And sometimes it's going to take a little bit for us to get the footage of it out because our free time is going to be spent. We took this weekend. We didn't go out this weekend for the sole purpose of getting that video out, just because people were going, hey, you guys have talked about it. It's time to get it out.
I know. I promised you guys that video for 2 weeks.
So we were like, all right, we've got to get this done. But like next week, we'll be out in the woods again. And so that's like the main focus on us. And that's what you need is you need more people that like they're mainly, I don't even want to call us researchers. I mean, we're more like investigators at this point. We investigate. We try to go out. Matt from Central Florida Bigfoot described it best. He goes, I'm a photojournalist. I'm trying to go out and get photo evidence or even audio evidence of the stuff that's going out. And I guess if nothing else, you could say that's what we're doing. But the YouTube thing is like secondary importance. We want to share it with everybody, but if we won't have anything to share if we're not out there in the woods to begin with, you know, so that has to take like importance over everything else at this point.
Yeah.
And it has taken importance over everything else at this point. It's where all of our spare money goes to. It's where all of our spare time goes to. It's where all of our everything goes to at this point.
We're exposing ourselves to supernatural radiation.
No doubt, man. So, Mark Plowboy, how are you? Was that area that the sign was in circular? It was on top of a hill, but it was a circular seeming area with a lack of vegetation and all that. And it was a fairly flattened area up there that was, I would say that the lack of vegetation was circular, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We didn't get out with like a, you know, a line and like check it to make sure it was a perfect circle, but it seemed circular. So
no one you know says, even as skeptical as I am, I have to admit that video is creepy.
Creepy, man. So
for sure.
And I don't mind skeptics that go, hey, how about this? How about this? How about this? Because you don't ever, even if I don't agree with it, I don't want to get so close-minded that I'm not willing to hear another viewpoint. But it's the people that are so skeptical that no matter what happens, they're going to not believe it. Somebody who just like kind of like puts some thought into it, that's great. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who approaches it that I'm a skeptic and my mind is never going to change. Well, then you're not skeptical.
The professional skeptics.
Yeah, the professional skeptics. So
Rick does Shotokan says, Jesse Joe, what do you think of the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts? We don't do any kind of work in New England at all.
We're the Southern Appalachians.
We are Southern Appalachians, so that's what we focus on. However, I think that perhaps it could be
it's a window area. Definitely.
What we call those window areas.
Yeah, I think I think there's places out west, but I mean Skinwalker Ranch, obviously, you know, a lot of Kentucky, the LBL. That spot that we're in North Georgia. There's another spot in North Georgia that people have referred to that there's weird stuff going on. Bridgewater Triangle.
I certainly think that
Deuster. I thought Deuster went to bed. So
yeah, he's supposed to be in bed.
Deuster can't tear himself away. The Captain Thomas Mantell Jr. Memorial is next week. I'm going to try to pull a few strings and see if I can video for it.
Cool.
Thomas Mantell is the only American pilot that they believe was killed by a UFO. If you're not familiar with that story, check it out. And they are actually doing a memorial for him next week. So
MK Ultra Hiking and Gear Review says, I'm an ultralight backpacker in the North Carolina and I've experienced some strange stuff. But if y'all want some gear or bag advice to streamline and lighten your load, seriously hit me.
Yeah, we might. We've gone through and looked at like ultralight stuff to try to. There's some things we can't skimp on. Yeah. There's just some things we can't skimp on.
We've done a pretty good job of
stripping down,
tearing down our gear, just kind of having the essentials.
Yeah.
as long as we have the basics covered, I think we're pretty good. And these,
But yeah, we definitely, and I like the MK Ultra hiking and gear review. You're probably right up our alley, man. So yeah. But like I said, we're doing it from the standpoint of like, how can we lighten this stuff to carry the research stuff we need? If you're super into ultralight backpacking, yeah, we want to reach out to you and always get some hints, man. We're carrying mystery ranch packs now. The only problem is that especially the electronics are so usually heavy. And then we've got to carry like backup power supplies and stuff like that. And those backup power bricks are weighty. So Sam Burton, Rob S. here in North Georgia, satanic cult activity is everywhere. And it is, man. It's weird. And then you hear stories from pretty credible people that talk to you about how, some of the small town like infrastructure, like some of the small town like politicians and police departments and what we saw in that one area, those people were telling us that the police department were involved with it. And from what we saw, it did. It looked like that. You know what I'm saying? From like somebody who just came in as an outsider's view, I'm going, yeah, like it may be not the entire police department, but at least part of the police department is involved with this, if not directly involved in some sort of cover up on it for some reason. So,
Rob S says, wonder if a crystal on a chain would rotate counterclockwise on the hill.
That's a good point. I don't know.
That's something that we can test.
Yeah.
I have a rose quartz pendulum on a chain.
Take it up there next time. So
that we can take up there, so I can test your theory, friend, because I have the technology.
This is good. Joel Pittman. Much on a time like a dog man being like a raccoon. Possibly there was one person who had a theory that all the dogman sightings in America were escaped kangaroos. That kangaroos had escaped, and I guess somehow
somebody said that. You posited that when you got the thermal image.
It turns out that there are people that think that somehow kangaroos have escaped, got a breeding population, and I guess have somehow gotten intelligent enough to evade detection or capture. But as far as being like raccoon like, that's a good possibility. That's something I haven't heard. You've heard theories that they have evolved from basically like old versions of like baboons or hyenas, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, as far as like raccoons go, that's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Raccoons.
Very cool, very interesting. Jamie Adams hitting us late. Did y'all figure out what the light was or whatever's giving off heat? We have not figured it out as of yet. We're bouncing back and forth between portals, plasma, orbs, all sorts of stuff at this point. As far as what those figures go, I don't know. So
we don't know. Did you want to go?
We'll go probably 15 more minutes, guys. We still got about 150, 160 people. Cool. Y'all probably more legit than most of the stuff out there now. It's weird because we get contacted with people all the time that just treat us like idiots because they're just going, and they just have they've got it all figured out. And I'm going, how do you have all this figured out?
Are you suggesting that someone was rude on the internet?
Are you suggesting that somebody tells lies on the internet? But I just, like I said, anything we say, at least we do a lot of research on this. We try to do like actual physical investigations on this. There are people out there that I think have little nuggets of like really in-depth truth about it. I just don't think any of us have like put the big picture together.
Figured it all out.
Yeah, but there are people out there that
I don't think we're ever going to figure it all out. Yeah. I don't think that's in the realm of possibility at this point. Yeah. I think that we're going to just find little pieces of the puzzle, but we're never going to have it complete.
Putting Sheila on camera here, because this is now a legally binding contract, Sheila. If I hit the big 1.1 billion mega million, I will be your benefactress.
Sheila, you kind of are a benefactress.
You kind of are a benefactress at this point. So Sheila is kind enough. She sends us like a little weekly donation every week. Yeah. That anything we get from this obviously goes into the equipment. We're still thousands and thousands. I don't even want to sit down. It would probably make me sick to my stomach. I'm looking at a pile of hard cases off of camera right now that's filled with infrasound equipment, thermals, night vision equipment, all of that. So anyway,
Steve Tichenal says, I don't think I'd have the guts to go back up there. We went back the next day.
We went back the next day, and then we went back the following weekend, and we heard those. I'm going to say they were coyotes, but keep in mind that's not that far from where we saw that weird white canine thing that might have just been a sick coyote or a sick coy dog because that was too big for a coyote. Still weird.
Solid white.
Down low to the ground. We caught the eye shine on the camera, and Jesse's like, "Is that a wolf?"
Oh,
and
that scared me so bad.
Yeah, but
oh my gosh,
we heard that kind of like growling and howling and all that, but you know what? It didn't sound as unnatural as the audio we caught. So I'm going to go down that those were probably just some big coyotes we heard, but they were ringing us. So we backed out, and we were a little nervous in that area right now, man, just because we don't know it that well yet. So all these people trying to talk about getting us grants, man. Need to try to get a grant for investigating the supernatural. If they will give a bunch of idiots $500,000 to give tennis metal gloves, you should do. I didn't even know that somebody got $500,000 for that. So
we're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
We need to be applying for grants for silly stuff.
Court Griner, what's up? Can confirm about Southeast Oklahoma. Yeah, it's matter of fact, if we were to go to one spot outside of the Southern Appalachians, it would be Oklahoma probably that I'd like to go to.
Yeah,
I've talked to some people up there that have had like a lot of weird stuff. Oklahoma's got some weird stuff going on. So
E-Rev says that our upload was intense for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody kind of found that interesting.
Yeah, I'm really glad you guys enjoyed that. And I know I had promised that video for a couple of weeks now, so it was really nice to get that out and actually let you guys get some eyes on it and throw some ideas at us.
Cryptic response: unless kangaroos evolved to no longer hop, what you saw was nowhere near like a kangaroo.
No.
But I will say right above this, Johnny goes, the upright raccoons and kangaroos have bred, and we now have the raccoon-garoos. Raccoon-garoo. So
Brian Wigfull says, I've come across
I'm sorry. E-Rev just got back, so go ahead and hit that. So
Brian Wigfull says, I've come across 4 or 5 abandoned tents, hammocks, and campsites. It makes me wonder if they went missing or if something scared them enough to just leave everything behind. It reminds me of that tent we found in the LBL. That there was all that stuff there, but
there was like equipment there and like a good cooler, and this was like a decent tent that somebody cut their way out of.
Yeah, so. And the rip on the front of that tent too, because just ripped open.
We have come across abandoned tents before that looked like somebody was like living there for a while, and you can just tell it looked like a little homeless encampment. There's garbage everywhere. There's it's got a feel to it. And then we've come across that one in the LBL where we're going, this just looks like somebody was just drug out of here, man. You know, again, not being there to see what happened. But again, it doesn't look like any of the homeless looking places that you've seen. And usually you find those somewhat near. A homeless dude ain't hiking in to those mountains with
there's no resources in the woods,
with a tent on his back. You know what I'm saying? So
now in the area where we saw the light and everything, in that general area, we've talked before about the body that was found up near there that seemed weird. There was a man that went missing from over there, and he went on a hunting trip or a fishing trip, and he was up there and he went missing. His family called the authorities. They went up there. They found all of his gear, his tent, everything. The tent was in a state very similar to the tent that we found.
They said that he had cut it to allow ventilation. And
who is cutting their tent to allow ventilation? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Big gashes in your tent.
It was in a very, I went through all of these reports in the newspaper and everything, and the missing persons reports. And the description was very similar to what we found in the LBL, but this is in the area that we're looking at right now. But the scenario was so similar to the LBL. It was like shocking when I read that. I was like, oh my God, is this like an MO, you know, for these things and the man was never found. A body was never found. He was just as if he just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Rob asked, what I shot at was not a kangaroo, bigger than the largest NFL lineman running full speed in the woods. I had no chance of hitting it, just wanted it to leave. Yeah, the kangaroo, when I caught that thermal image, I was trying to like think of things that had large pointed kind of ears that could maybe be an explanation. And of course, I'm just running through stuff in my head, and I said, is it a kangaroo? Did a kangaroo get escaped in there? And then later on, I see these dudes have like a YouTube channel And they're saying that they have debunked the entire dogman phenomenon, that they have figured it out. That's just kangaroos. And they're being dead serious.
Pack it up, guys. Let's go home.
That's like my pet peeve with like anybody. And you see it so much nowadays of people that have just, I've got the answer. I have debunked it. And I'm just going, what sort of like hubris do you like? What sort of just like misguided pride in yourself do you have at that point to sit here and go, with just the knowledge you have, you're going to just completely explain away the entire phenomenon? The rest of you idiots out there that think that you have had something happen like Rob asked, you were completely mistaken, because I have debunked it all.
You're welcome.
And just these people that make these overarching statements, and I'm going, do you really, I mean, are you just trying to make yourself sound important, or do you really honestly believe that you have single-handedly just solved this whole thing that thousands and thousands of people have experienced at this point?
Stephen Tichenel says, I saw an episode of Monster Quest yesterday that was supposed to be about Sasquatch, but the depiction of a Native American petroglyph looked like a dogman. Joe has mentioned this before, that he thinks that a lot of Sasquatch sightings are just misidentified dogman.
They didn't have dogman in their lexicon. They didn't have
that. That was not like the reference at that point. They had nothing to reference at that point. So that, you know, you hear stories about a Sasquatch being described having a long muzzle. This could just be misidentified dogman.
And it's weird because there's petroglyphs don't last as long in this part of the country as they do like in the Southwest. Just the weathering, all the rain and everything like that. But there's some petroglyphs near us that have been uncovered, and then just they dug them out. They were covered with like soil and all that, and then they were able to cover them with a building so they're not weathered away. And there's a creature, and they're going, oh, we think it's like some sort of like Birdman. And she and I are both looking at it going, how do y'all see feathers there? Because
we compared it to another petroglyph of an actual bird, and there's different details for feathers. This was fur.
Yeah.
What was on that petroglyph, that carving, that was fur.
This looked like, oh, that's a beak. And I'm going, that don't look like no beak. That looks like a snout with fur.
Yes.
And the guy's going, well, what else would it be? And I'm going, you know, again, people just
dogman. Don't you know?
So, and then there's another one supposedly up in the Uwari that they found that shows like a canine-headed human figure.
That's dogman, you fool.
So,
cryptid response goes, my favorite part of the whole video releases. Joe, what was that? Jesse, that was fantastic.
Yeah, Jesse was like,
I was losing it. I was just losing. Like you hear me like kind of sounds like I'm wheezing. I'm laughing, like I'm hysterically like laughing, and I can't breathe. And I'm just like so excited. This is fantastic, because it's exactly what it is. It was absolutely one of the wildest things I've ever seen with my own two eyes.
Glenn Snyder, look into ancient Sumer. They talk about DNA manipulation. So this could have been going on forever. I think that there are what we consider these individual creatures like Sasquatch, dogman, almost anything. I think that there's different things feeding into each one of those. And I think that beyond a shadow of a doubt, there was like some sort of genetic manipulation going on in the past that has caused at least some of those things.
Yeah.
And perhaps they were manipulated. And again, we've always talked about like subterranean might be a explanation, that maybe they're just flesh and blood. I just always say that some of them are flesh and blood, but they're just not here. They're not above ground in the forests 24/7. They're just not.
Yeah.
But maybe they're going underground. Maybe that's the explanation. Maybe that's just, it's a biological creature that's from Earth, and it's just, maybe they're going underground, and maybe one of these days somebody's going to be tunneling or mining and just bust into a big cavern, and there's just a ton of them there. And maybe that's happened before and been covered up. I don't know. But I think that in the past, there's just too many stories of things, of entities coming from somewhere else and breeding with humans. Genesis 6, all of the stuff that goes on in like Greek mythology, Hindu mythology, all of this stuff, you know, the gods breeding with mortals. And sometimes you get demigod-like heroes, and then other times you just get literal monsters that are there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so yeah, by all means, I think that you're exactly right on that. That it's that they were witnessing what we would call genetic modification, and they were explaining it in the best terms that they had through their own cultural filter, if that makes sense. So
Christopher Lineberry says, do you think that light object caused the tree burning?
The scorch marks to me seemed older, but keep in mind that may not be the first time that
has occurred. But
at the same token, if it was given off heat, and it was given off a lot of heat, and that's my thing, that it was contained somehow, because we could have seen old scorch marks up there, but where were the new scorch marks of what we saw? Because it was right at ground level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? and it's wet up there right now, but that still should have, like, with all those pine needles, left scorch marks. I don't know. I don't know.
Brian Wigful about kangaroos. Bloody kangaroos. They're great for hitting at 3 o'clock in the morning on your way to work. Yeah, Brian lives in Australia.
Australia. He's a researcher down from Australia.
He has personal experience with the kangaroos.
Rob S., don't go to Southeast Oklahoma. I'm an ex-firefighter from Northwest Arkansas and know a firsthand law enforcement story that will turn your poop white.
I'm going to use
Sorry, I hadn't read all the way, and the poop white just jumped out at me.
I'm going to use that one.
My hair's already white, man. I started turning gray when I was in high school. So.
Turn your poop white.
Turn your poop white. Rob, if you want to share that, like, privately or on here, go right ahead, man. So, yeah, everybody's going, please tell. Sounds Rob. It's, you know.
Dave Squatcheroni says, in the episode where y'all, are you okay?
Yes.
Dave Squatcheroni.
In the episode where y'all found the tent, I could have sworn I saw a small remnant of blood in it. There were stains on it. We couldn't tell. There were stains on it. We couldn't tell. I mean, we didn't even, when we saw that the rip in the door looked like something had just ripped it, you know. We saw the cut in it, and I'm going, this looks different. And it wasn't until somebody that watched the video went, hey, it almost looks like somebody was laying in a sleeping bag and cut their way out.
Good night, Frank.
Good night, Frank. And rolled their way out of it. So that was something that somebody brought up to us. There were stains in it, but stuff gets stained out in the woods, but I don't know. It could have been blood. I can't say that it was, though. So, you know what, looking back, we maybe should have clipped a little bit, but at the same token, I mean, we reported it. What if it ended up being a crime scene? We're like tampering with a crime scene.
Yeah.
There, man. So,
yeah, they're going to process that crime scene. They'll be like, for some reason, there's wolf and human ape hybrid DNA all over this thing. Charles / I'm your Huckleberry. Could those lights possibly have been orbs or energy from a Bigfoot?
Possibly. The figures around it didn't give me the impression of being very tall.
I don't think this is a Bigfoot thing.
I still don't think it's a Bigfoot thing. But again, we don't know for certain.
We don't know for sure.
We could, this time next week, look at each other and go, all right, guys, things have changed completely based upon what we just found.
We just don't have all the information. Yeah. We're going back, so we'll be going back and checking that out.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're following up on this again. We've been back out there twice since the incident happened. So we went the next day, and then we went a few days later to check it out.
Good night, Shinob. So,
Jay Myers, good idea. Field testing for dry blood. Use peroxide.
Yeah, all right, there we go. So, okay, so we need to get like a little bottle of peroxide.
Not a bad idea.
Jay Myers, will that work for older dried blood that's been exposed to the elements? Because I honestly don't know.
Yeah, that's
something.
Yeah, that's great idea.
If you know that, if peroxide will work for older blood as well, let us know, because we'll add that in the bag now.
We're getting.
I see. This is why you guys are so awesome, man. And this is why I don't want to, we're not blowing smoke up, but the people that are regular like participants on this is the whole reason why we do this on Mondays is we get like just crazy good advice like this. People are funny. We get really good input. This is very valuable for us and hopefully the other people that respond onto this. Take a small bottle of hydrogen peroxide or look at the blood, other protein-based stains. Jumping off this real quick, I think Squatcheroni is possibly the greatest name. You, sir, get a round of applause.
So Rob S. told the story, but we're not going to put it up because you can't. They get real edgy about the R word there. So Rob S. responded and told the story in the chat there, but we can't put it up because YouTube gets a little edgy about the R word.
Yeah, we'll get banned again.
Yeah. I wanted to say that before you did it.
No. Yeah, thank you, because I would have done it. Rob, if you want to contact us, and if there's anything you can share on that, that's a pretty insane story. On. I've heard something that had similar elements to this that is not this, and it wasn't in that. Rob, anything you want to share on that? That's crazy. So X-Rev, could they have been the reflection of surrounding trees back through the trees, creating a dance? No, these were figures, man. They were hard to tell at first, but they were figures. I can't tell you what they looked like. They didn't seem very large. They didn't seem very thick-bodied. I got the impression that they were, and honestly, they seemed kind of almost willowy, which is why I was going, or like thin. That's why I'm going. Did we just see some like weird fae type stuff? I mean, conceptually, it's one thing to sit there and say a lot of this modern activity shares a lot of elements with like old European folklore, with like the fae. It's one thing to kind of sit there and know that and see that connection. It's another thing to sit in the car afterwards and go, did we just see some weird fae stuff? I mean, that's completely, you're in some weird territory.
You're going from here to here.
Yeah, exactly. So
at that point. Yeah, they said it works for old blood.
Yeah, I saw that. Jay Myers. Yeah, well, blood holds the protein. That is amazing. Thank you guys. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
So I guess everybody and their mother knows this about peroxide and old blood.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome.
You know, I mean, I know that if you're bleeding and you pour peroxide on there, it foams up. But I wouldn't have made that connection to use it on old fabric like that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we're gonna do that definitely. I mean, it's gonna weigh next to nothing. Just put a little bottle, sweet bottle of peroxide in one of the bags. So
that's a Dollar Tree get there.
Mm-hmm.
The Zoso was asking again about my mug. It's an eye on the bottom.
Did you ever find out who does the mugs?
I looked through my Instagram. I cannot find the girl's name.
Whoever is it, Zoso, that's looking for that mug manufacturer?
Email me at hellbentholler@gmail.com and remind me.
Finds it, she'll send it directly
and I will send it directly to you. That way you can check it out. Because I cannot remember for the life of me. I took her card, but it was at the
Oh, Rob S., don't be sorry. I mean, I'm glad you shared it. I just can't put it on screen because I would have put it on screen, and then all of a sudden we would have gotten the notification that, you know,
we've been dinged again.
We've been dinged yet again. So but it's important that stuff like this gets out. Thank you, man. We're even thinking about, we were toying around the idea about trying to like maybe start like a Rumble account or something and do some of the stuff that gets us regularly in trouble over here and discuss it over there. It'd be a small audience, but said a country sheriff told him the story. That's wild, man. So Christopher Lineberry, I've seen a number of videos where people see one of these creatures when camping and they leave everything never to come back. And that might have happened there. It's just the circumstances of it that the front door looked like it had been grabbed and ripped. It didn't look like it had been cut by claws. It didn't look like it had been cut by a knife. It just looked like it had been ripped open. And then the cut at the bottom, the person who thought that maybe it was somebody cutting their way out because something's coming through the door, so they need to get out of the back of the tent. They slashed it and got out. Made sense. And then those weird gouge marks on the tree, they weren't a knife and they weren't like axe marks. So all of that together, it looked like somebody had been taken, but you're right. Maybe somebody heard it. It was coming in the front of the tent. They cut their way out of the bottom, got out the bottom, hauled butt out. They made it safely and then just never came back for their stuff. That's a very good possibility. That might have happened. So
I might have a link here for that, if I can find it.
So,
no.
Dead in Yard Hunt. Everything in Australia wants to kill you. Yep. So, Country Board Cryptids, good evening. So, guys, we're going to go for a few more minutes. If anybody's got anything to add to it. Rob S., I got your email. I haven't had a chance to open it yet. Mr. Kennedy, William Kennedy, if you're on here, we're going to go through your letters when we get done tonight.
I found the maker of the mug. I have done it.
All right. So
I was trying to find mutuals that I knew that we would have. So they're on Instagram as MMS Studios SC. So it's MMS Studios.
You got a link that you can put
They have an Etsy shop. I'm going to throw that on there real quick. And yeah, let's do that because I know you are interested in the mug. But she's got all kinds of cool stuff. She does like mushroom mugs and stuff like that too. So let's see. Shop. I'm trying to write this link in here. Yes.
Thank you, Country Boy Cryptids. If you have any ideas on it, please please let us know. Pyromedic, what's up? A couple channels I watch are going to Rumble. YouTube is retroactively taking all their videos down with a cuss word to them. Yeah, YouTube is, YouTube is really focusing on like shorts. YouTube wants to compete with TikTok, and where TikTok is actually what it looks like has like a wide range of stuff on there. TikTok's just not people doing weird dances all the time. But it seems like that's what YouTube thinks TikTok is, and that's what they want to do is that YouTube's really going after like short content, like, like 30 seconds or less. And if anybody else, it's kind of like they're almost like kind of pushing them out at this point, So I don't know where we're going to end up at or what we're going to end up doing.
We've got to put our videos out somewhere, so it's got to go somewhere. And we're trying to get in front of a wider audience too. So still, YouTube is still the biggest game in town, even if we don't like some of the things that are involved with how it's run. It's it's first and best dressed. So, you just have to deal with it. We don't use, we, in our earlier videos, we use foul language a lot, but then somebody told me that they watch these videos with their kids, and I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So we have been not using foul language and stuff like that, but Joe did have an expression. He goes like, "What the is that?" So I have to edit that out sometimes. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just you gotta kind of deal with the rules to play sometimes.
Yeah, but it is definitely true that they are going after, like, we try not to discuss anything that's like true crime related now, because if you even touch, which is hard because some of the areas we go into have like a dark history.
Yeah.
That we think might either have a connection somehow to the stuff that's going on there now, but then if you talk about it, it's like, you veered into true crime and we don't want that. So
yeah, and you've got to sometimes you need that information because it gives you context for why these things are happening or if these things have happened before. So it's good to have that context, but I mean, we just can't.
It seems like YouTube just wants 30-second clips of like pranks and scantily clad chicks doing dances. You know what I'm saying? So that's all they basically want at this point. So
there is no room for the girl hunting the Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's no room for just a weird little cryptid chick hunting stuff. So William Kennedy, thanks again for a super great live as always. Learned a lot from chat and both of you. William, thank you again for what you sent to us. We appreciate it. So Country Boy Cryptids, I'm like you, Joe, wouldn't have gotten any closer to that light. Yeah, like I said, if I have a feeling now that if we go back and we see something like that again, we'll be more prepared for it, and it may not be the best decision, but I have a feeling that curiosity is going to get the better of us this time. So. Yeah, it's I'm sure they're addictive, but at the same token, that's and we might try to do like a few shorts just to kind of.
I think I'm going to start doing some shorts, and you know what? Just doing some like greatest hits of stuff that we do too. Yeah. I can do those as shorts.
Might be a good idea. So.
And I can do. We're getting called out right now. Knife check.
So.
Knife check.
I pulled mine out of my pocket. I'm carrying a Cold Steel Broken Skull and Hellbent Holler Black and Orange. So it's like almost just a clip point.
I have a custom Cold Steel Code 4. I got this from the guy at Snaggletooth. He did machine these lines on here on both sides. He put the ring on there, and then he put the Snaggletooth on the top. The Snaggletooth goes where the thumb stud is, and that catches on your jeans actually. And so you can just deploy your knife one-handed because that tooth will catch onto your jeans and open up your knife. But if you guys aren't familiar with Snaggletooth, it's a really cool little thing. You can just stick those on your knives where the thumb screw is.
Yep. Dave Squatcheroni, what you're saying is YouTube is a 12-year-old boy, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So Daniel Garcia, never seen Jesse sound so excited and thrilled like when seeing that light. Thankful you both ended up safe during that thrill of the moment. Yeah, you could tell she was like ecstatic. I mean, and I know I kind of came across like a jerk in it, but I'm just trying to like get the car started. And she's like, I am getting the car started. But I was just, put your thermal away, because I mean, she was just, yeah. I mean, I just didn't think that, and I'm surprised we haven't caught any flack on that. Why didn't you guys run towards the light? just didn't feel that was the right thing to do, man, especially with seeing those figures around it. I mean, and then when it lifted up higher and I couldn't make out the figures anymore, I don't know if they were leaving too, if they were in the woods, if they were moving towards us. I mean, it's just not, I mean, we were not equipped to, I mean, we go prepared to defend ourselves, but I'd rather not get into a firefight in the middle of the woods in unfamiliar territory. So,
yeah. Well,
all righty, guys. Well, all right. I know there's still a
bunch of people watching.
Do you think that there was some infrasound out there? Of course, you're asking the wrong person, because I'm still sticking to my guns that infrasound is not a element in what goes on with that stuff. That I think that if you've watched the channel in the past, and actually, if we want to do a short, let's do a little short on the infrasound detection equipment. You know
I can do that. Yeah,
because you can pick up infrasound everywhere. You pick up infrasound when helicopters go over, when trains go by, when storms are rolling in. I mean, there's infrasound all around us. But yeah, so just to kind of show how it looks and everything like that. And it's weird because somebody sent me a YouTube video of somebody was using the standard model of that you can buy, not the weird upgraded, like modified version like we requested. And if you haven't like got a baseline reading for an area, and even if you get a baseline reading for an area, one helicopter goes by, it's going to generate infrasound. You're going to get some of the signal. So you have to really practice with it and know the data that you're looking at. So
we've had what are those helicopters that are like the double helicopters? They fly over here all the time. We've had them fly over pretty regularly right before I go to work. So if you want, we can have the infrasound equipment ready, and I can get some helicopter readings.
Yeah, because I mean it's low level infrasound. It's not very intense. But again, I might be surprised. I might go out into an area and that has like activity and go, I'm getting insanely intense infrasound stuff. I don't know at this point.
Like we never know. That's why we got the equipment to test.
Yeah, that's why we got it to test. So, Matt wants to know what our plan is when we come across that light again. This time we will be running multiple backup GPS units, like we normally do. We'll have a better lay of the land up there, and we will probably approach it and see what happens and just go from there. Because seeing as how we don't know what it is, I can't really do a lot of.
I tell you what, though, I've been wearing my thermal in a pouch on my belt, and that was probably the best decision is to start just carrying that right on my belt, because I left my backpack in the car.
Yeah, and both of us left our backpacks in the car. So we we saw that road, and I wanted to just check it out before we left for the night.
And I swear, I'm so glad I can. Yeah, Chinooks. That's what that helicopter is. Thank you, Jay. But yeah, I'm so freaking glad that I've started carrying my thermal on my hip like that. Yeah. Because, it'd be one thing if we got that footage with the FASM full spectrum, but the fact that we got it there and on the thermal, I think that's part of, I was so stoked. Yeah. And I know if you guys watch that video, you see me in the car, I'm just like, I got it. Like I was losing my mind.
We weren't that far from the car. You can tell, man. It's not like we were 5 miles in. So we didn't have all of our stuff. So next time we'll go prepared like we should have this time. E-Rev says, shout out to Cold Steel. Yeah, we carry Cold Steel folders just because the locking mechanism on there. The lock is the big thing for us there. So MK Ultra hiking, Native Americans say don't go towards the lights. Pretty much every culture says don't follow those lights into the woods. Whether it's Native Americans telling you that or it's European folklore, don't follow the will-o-wisp into the woods. Yeah. Fairy lights, everything like that. But I thought one was a lost hiker and got 15 feet from it before I realized. I would like to hear that story sometime. So, Charles, I'm your Huckleberry. Pick up EMF and RF. Yeah, we go out with a low frequency EMF detector, a tri-field meter, and then usually 2 different spectrum analyzers, one set to like a low sweep, one set to a high sweep, and then a Geiger counter as well. The infrasound detection equipment that we had modified is portable. It's not as portable. It's got to be stationary when you use it or it'll set off the readings. You can't really use it on the move. You can move a few, like a distance, set it up, take some readings for a bit. If you don't have it hooked up computer, you can just use the LED array and at least get a rough idea of the intensity. It'll measure anything below 20 hertz. And it gives you basically the sound pressure on it. So like how intense that sound is. So,
we got residual EMF, and he was getting some RF signals the next day,
Yeah.
and radiation and stuff.
Yeah, residual radiation. It was current EMF like stuff.
Current
Something was
EMF,
up, that it was residual. Seemed like it was residual but even then the radiation was like probably a little over twice normal baseline, so it wasn't like intense, but it was noticeably in just one spot up there, which was like that stump, which was right next to that symbol, for God's sake. So
Dead End Yard Haunt says, Poltergeist movie says, go for the lights. How'd that work out?
yeah, exactly. So
Shirai Ronin Gaming says, I would like to know if any radiation was coming off of that light. I'd like to know too, but we were just, like, it was kind of just a shock. I mean, we're lucky we got the footage we got at that point. So. And lucky I remembered the dang thermal on my belt.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the Oz effect and just being in shock, but we're just like looking at this thing, like just looking at something. And it was just, you could hear it in my voice. I was just in shock.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up.
I think we're going to wrap it up. Yeah. I got to make dinner and all of that good stuff. Good night, Barton Nunley.
So good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah. You can always get in touch with us. You can email us, hellbentholler@gmail.com.
We are insanely behind on emails right now, but that doesn't mean we don't want you to email us. So
make sure that you hit this like button on this video. Make sure you share Hellbent Holler with your friends. We just want to get in front of more people so that people can check out our videos. We spent a lot of time and effort making these, and I just really love when people watch them and enjoy them. And you can follow me on Instagram at HellbentJessie, and we do have a PO box if you want to send us photos or anything like that. I check it once a week, and I'm always happy to get a little mail in there. So if you guys have anything else, please join in. If not, speak now or forever hold your peace.
We're gonna call it. Looks like everybody's wrapping up.
Yeah, everybody's so tired. But thank you guys again for joining us for another Hellbent Holler live. We appreciate you. We adore you. You guys are always the best. We appreciate these conversations.
We appreciate the input. We appreciate the humor that everybody's got. These have actually turned out to be the highlight of our week, and it's strange because we were a little hesitant to do them at first, but
yeah,
we were. Out well.
But yeah, we really enjoyed doing these. So thank you guys for joining us again. And we're gonna take you guys out and
let you guys say goodbye to everybody.
Yep.
And thank you, everyone.
And let's do this. Good night, everybody.